Hello, lads, ladies, gents, ladetts, whoever, whatever. Welcome back to another video. You can see we've got an interview with the lovely baby arms Jordan Allen here, who is joining me all the way from Korea. So if there's any issues with picture quality, things of that nature, tough shit. We sort of just have to do what we have to do. But Jordan, introduce yourself. Where can people find you? What do you like to do?
Been a long time coming, man.
Yeah. It's been like, what, 2 years of trying to organize this, it feels like.
Has it been 2 years? Before I actually do introduce myself, thank you. And I really actually have been looking forward to this.
It's a lot of fun. I love doing these.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. But yeah, I'm previously Jordan Allen on YouTube, but I've rebranded as Baby Arms, which is actually something I came up with years ago. So it's been floating around in my brain for a while. It's just kind of recent on YouTube. But yeah, I'm Baby Arms. You can find me on YouTube, channel name Baby Arms.
With the greatest YouTube icon that exists.
Thank you, man.
It's an experience to look at, I'll tell you that.
It's really something.
Especially that animation you recently got. I love it. It scared the crap out of me the first time I saw it. Ain't gonna lie.
I made the picture, like I edited the picture one night, I think it was like 2016, and I just wanted to make something weird, and so I went and I did it, made something weird, and that's where that picture came from. No reason, no meaning behind it. I just wanted to make something strange, and just kind of got that itch to do something weird on Microsoft Paint. But yeah, so Baby Arms, the channel link is like youtube.com/ I think it's Jordan Allen VA, but yeah, that'll be in the description, I'm sure.
It'll be all links to everything down there. You're not super active on social media, so I don't think we need to worry about that. I think you tweet like once every 3 months at best.
I'm on Twitter, and I tweet basically just to say I've made a video or one of my friends has made a video.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's pretty much it.
For those who want to know, how do I know Mr. Baby Arms, the big brain, is through Avalanche Reviews. You got a shout out from his channel. I'm a big fan of long form video essays, and boy, does he do some long form video essays.
Good old Jared.
Yeah. Absolutely love his videos, so shout out to him.
Me too. Yeah.
But how did that come about? Like, just as a situation, because obviously I found you through him, and we built I'd say a pretty good friendship over time, which we'll go into shortly. But like, how did he come to be in your life?
I'm gonna be clearing my throat throughout probably this whole interview because I'm getting over a cold. Sorry about that. But,
don't stress. This isn't.
I'll try to mute my mic each time.
So don't worry. I can always mute because I'll have I've got 2 audio tracks being recorded at the same time, so I can always fix it.
Oh, okay.
We're good.
Yeah. So with Jared, I found his channel and immediately liked it and liked pretty much everything he was making. And I had never used Patreon before, but I'd always thought it'd be cool to support someone if I just like found someone I liked enough and felt good about supporting. And Avalanche Reviews, and this is like free publicity for whoever watches this, but it's a great channel. And immediately I was just like, I found a channel I want to give money to. Yeah. And so I went to his Patreon and I saw his tiers, and like some of his rewards were like you can get a t-shirt and stuff. And Jared lives in Japan, but at the time he was still in America, and I'm in Korea. So I contacted him privately on Patreon and was like, hey man, I started, I became a patron, and this might be presumptuous, please don't take this the wrong way, but I try to avoid clutter in my home, and I have more clothes than I need already. Like I have too much stuff, and I tend to not want to toss stuff out. So like I like your channel enough to give you money, and so I don't mean to insult. I just don't want a t-shirt. Like I'm not a t-shirt guy. I never have been. And I was like, instead of a t-shirt, if you could just look at my channel, because, and I'll go into what my channel actually is, but if you could just take a look at my channel, and if you like what you see, maybe just put the word out there that I exist. I would be very grateful for that, and I would, take that in place of a t-shirt. And if you don't want to, if I'm sitting here like writing rules, like if you don't want to do that, of course that's fine. But he was And I actually don't. I feel kind of awkward even telling that story, because now that I think about it, because I don't want Jared to get flooded with a bunch of requests.
No,
But
I think like it's one of those things where Jared is a very genuine guy. If you watch his content, he is willing to point out his own flaws in his own videos and own ideas and things like that. So I don't think he's the type of guy who would take offense to, the truth being told that, hey, this is what happened. But to me, it's like he would have seen your content like I did and been like, this is good. This is what I like. There is a genuineness to it that you just don't really get on YouTube. And we'll go into that stuff a little bit later, because obviously it's going to be a pretty heavy topic. But like, just for people who don't know, it wasn't a fact of you bought, a shout out or anything like that. It was a situation where I think he saw your channel, your videos, and how genuine they were, and that's why.
Yeah. Well, I do want to. I'll call it what it is, and I'll be honest, because if somebody wanted to look at it as me buying a shout out, that would probably be fair. But the thing is, I went in. I didn't even have the idea to ask him to do anything. I went in and made a Patreon account purely because I was like, okay, I want to support this guy, and I didn't even think about asking him to give me any sort of shout out until I was looking at his tiers and thought maybe I can wrangle some kind of alternative thing. But first and foremost, I just wanted to toss him a couple bucks every month, and that was.
See, like, that's one of those things where I've been in a situation where I wish that I've got so many people I watch that I wish I could support more financially, but unfortunately a little bit between jobs at the moment. So, he gets $1 a month, and that's the best he can get from me. But it's one of those things where I think it came from a very genuine place of let's support creators we enjoy. And I've got plenty of creators over the years where when I've been fortunate enough to have spare money, I'll gladly throw it towards them. Even though sadly some of them I was actually thinking about, shout out to Drunk in a Graveyard, a group out of Canada that do a horror podcast. They haven't posted anything in 8 months, even though I'm still friends with them and we still chat, but on occasion it's just one of those things where you want to support people who are continuously putting the effort in. So I think Jared is definitely someone who makes very quality content and doesn't, even though like it's not that he's doing bad, it's just I think he deserves a lot more than what he gets. As I feel for like your content. And shout out to Pixel Sean, whose recent video actually has done really, really well with his Spider-Man video, more so than we were expecting. We're all sort of like hyping it up, getting like in the DMs and stuff. But when it comes to the situation you're in now, you've mentioned to me, because we talk about our like what we're working on and sort of behind the scenes when it comes to numbers a little bit, not necessarily super in detail, but you mentioned something along the lines of saying I am, like you said to me, that I'm growing more organically than yourself. What makes you really feel that way? Because I honestly see your videos as very good content that I love to watch and share with people. Although I do have to give people a warning about a specific series that's a very important series to the channel.
Of course, yeah.
But at least for the more recent content with the movie reviews, which I think is really good writing and stuff, what makes you want to say that like you're not growing organically from that?
Oh, I mean, some of it's organic. Okay, so I guess we should it'll make a lot more sense if we first just talk about what I make. So, most of my time on you. So, okay, how do you even start this? I am about to talk about sad things.
Yes.
Involving death and drugs and addiction. So,
there's your warning, viewers
listening. Yeah. So yeah, I'll get straight into that. My younger brother Jameson died in 2018. He had a drug addiction, and for pretty much all of his adult life, starting in his teens and then through all of his adult life, he had a drug problem, and we saw him at some very low lows, and then he went to rehab, got help, actually did really well, and for like 3 or 4 years he was clean, he was prospering, he was excelling and getting promoted at his job, he had a girlfriend, everything was going well for him, and everyone really liked him. He was living in California. I'm from Tennessee, but he had moved out to California for rehab, and So everything was good, and just as I teach English in South Korea, my brother Jameson went to South America, Colombia, Bogota, Colombia, to teach English. And relapses happen if you don't have a strong support network. I mean, it's not guaranteed, but it's a big danger. And Jameson apparently relapsed in Bogota, Colombia. He was living in a bad area. He said there were people. The whole city's not like this, but in the area he was living in, there were people just standing on the street, just like smoking whatever and selling whatever. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
if you're around it, it's hard to avoid it.
Yeah, and it's just my family and I feel so naive about things now, because it's like we thought after a few years of being clean and doing so well, we thought he was out of the woods. But when you have a drug problem, once an addict, always an addict. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. You're never truly 100% safe from all of that again, no matter how long you've been doing very well. So he relapsed, and I guess he overdosed. He was found dead by his roommate. And so yeah, that's my little brother. He was 5 years younger than me, and he and we didn't get along a lot as kids. You know, brothers fight, and I know it's normal, but I have a lot of guilt. Like I feel like I am particularly good at saying hurtful things, and I feel like I sometimes kind of offloaded a lot of my unhappiness as a kid onto him, and was just mean. Like not a physical bully, but just mean. And so it's like, take whatever animosity there is between brothers and add. I think I was genuinely pretty mean-spirited, and anyway, there's a lot there, but one of the few contexts in which I remember us getting along very well was video games, particularly Final Fantasy games and Kingdom Hearts. One of our friends introduced us to, like, you know, everyone has their first like moving away from Mario and Donkey Kong moment, I think, and like, oh, there's other stuff out there, and so we saved up one summer. I was 14, he was 9. We did whatever work for people we could, and like, you know, collected pennies and stuff. We saved up our money and bought a PlayStation 2 and Final Fantasy 7 and Final Fantasy 9. And then later that same year, my brother got Kingdom Hearts for his birthday. The very first Kingdom Hearts. This was 2002. And we loved Kingdom Hearts so much. It's one of the few contexts I remember us getting along, because we were just so excited about this thing we liked so much. We would just talk about it, and about like how much we liked it and what we thought it meant, and like the symbolism and the opening FMV and all that stuff. And so Jameson died in 2018. Kingdom Hearts 3 came out in 2019, and I knew I wanted to do something for him, some kind of tribute, but I didn't know what. And then I had the idea to record my first playthrough of Kingdom Hearts 3 and make videos out of it in his honor. And so it was initially just going to be like, here's the game, I'm playing it, you see my face, I don't talk much because that's just not me. I'm not going to be like, whoa, dude, what? You know, I'm not going to jump. It's Riku. Oh, that Keyblade is sick. You know,
let's go.
Yeah. Oh wow, Aqua! All these plot points that I knew were gonna happen in some way happened, and I'm gonna jump out. No, I'm not like that. I never have been. But just, you know, the plan was to have me playing the game, and then I kind of thought I need to like explain the purpose of my series, and then I thought like at the end of each episode I can attach like a story from the past, and then it just kind of evolved into this. I feel like pretentious saying experimental, but I guess it definitely is literally like an experimental, like I'm figuring out what I'm doing. I don't know what YouTube is or how to do YouTube type of thing. So I just grafted a bunch of vlogs onto the ends of my gameplay playthrough videos. And Jameson loved hiking, so I've recorded a ton of hikes throughout Korea. I've recorded a bunch of travels. I've approached, and I always talk about him, and I talk about his life, his childhood, his adulthood, addiction, and then I've also talked about myself and like what it's like after losing a sibling. And I've also talked kind of meta, what it's like, how I'm gonna say this, like how it changes the way you think to be actively making a tribute to someone. Basically, I've just approached this topic from every angle I could possibly think of. And there's like, I think there are 67 videos in that series now. The final, the most recent episode is episode 66, but there's 67 because there's an episode 0.
Yeah.
So the final episode will be 72, and that'll be everything. And so I'm almost done, but that's my series. And so, and you know that, but now the people listening.
I highly recommend for anyone, like, if you're able to handle very heavy topic matter, it is a series that is 100% worth watching, not from just a, hey, here's Kingdom Hearts perspective, but to me, I learned a lot about not just you, but I mentioned in a comment, because we used to write massive comments to each other, having like full-on thoughtful discussion before we realized, oh, we can just message each other on Twitter, and then we're like, oh yeah, right, Discord exists, because we're the smartest men alive. But we, like, I say, you did the impossible when it came to Jameson, in terms of you've made him a legend. You've made him someone that I know without ever meeting him. Like, I can actively know the stories. If you start telling them, I know where you're going because you've said them. And in one video particularly, you commented saying, oh, I feel like I talk in circles a lot when I'm telling these stories. And I mentioned my experience with my late grandfather, who, used to tell me the same 5 stories over and over and over again. And those 5 stories are always here. They're never going anywhere, and it doesn't matter what happens. It's just one of those things. I could get dementia. I can guarantee you I know those stories of him jumping over the fence, stealing lemons, stealing chickens from the neighbors, and having to run while they're getting rocks pelted at them and shit like that. It's just one of those things where it's really important to share those stories. But like, just seeing it from a human condition standpoint, as you said, right? Like, it's very experimental as a series, if we're being honest, because it's not just here's a let's play, and it's not just here's a vlog. It's I'm going to pay tribute, as you said, in every way you could see fit, every way you could possibly do it. And it's interesting to see the growth that you have and how much better you get at processing as time goes on. It's not that it doesn't hurt any less. It's just that you're more aware of what's going on within yourself. And I want to say one thing, though, that I know I'll forget if I don't mention it now. Shout out to that time you lost your tripod that you just bought on the bus, because I still laugh about that, because that was one of the funniest things. Was it the bus or the train? I can't remember.
It was the bus. Yeah, that's still. I used that tripod exactly once, and and then that night after I recorded that little bit, I left it on the bus, and we tried. Yeah, we tried to call the bus company and be like, anyone find a tripod in the bus? They're like, nope. There were no tripods on this bus. Yeah, someone took a tripod home. So
I mean, they're not cheap.
Yeah. No, they're not. Because I bought that tripod from some other teachers who were leaving Korea. They sold it to me for very cheap, and it was a pretty good tripod. And I replaced it with a tripod that I think is better. I don't know if it was like $300 better, but that's what I had to spend.
Bloody hell. So I just wanted to bring it up because it's one of those things, because it's like the comment twerkules. I don't even remember the comment when I made that. I don't remember why I made that joke, but I just remember it being the start of us just, talking about half serious and then half just joking about any and everything. Because there is, in one of your videos, I don't know if it was 65 or 66. It might have even been like back in the third, like episode 30 something. Because I've watched a lot. I still haven't watched all of
this. This man has watched so much of my series. Yeah.
As I said, I shout it out to everyone. Everyone, I'm like, if you want to watch one of the most just raw experiences you could have, it's hard to turn away, in my opinion, because there's just so much to take in and learn. Because like, I feel like, as I said, I feel like I got to know you and Jameson without ever physically seeing. This is the first time we've hung out on a Discord call.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where I look at the situation and I go, okay, this is something that I think is important for everyone, because like I know plenty of people who've gone through loss and had to deal with it, and if you can't self-reflect, it's really hard to move past it, you know. And I think
I appreciate you.
that's where I see what you've
Yeah.
done, you know, like as you said before, like, you know, it's like, oh, I look back at it and I'm like, oh, I'm mean. It's like, well, yeah, but brothers, you know, I do apologize as an Australian, I have to say it. Brothers are cunts, you know, like, you know, it's just, we're assholes to each other, always have been, always will be. We shit stir each other. We can be a little bit mean spirited. But at the end of the day, what it boils down to is a simple fact that you care about. You know,
Well, he and I became closer and nicer and friendlier as adults when we matured.
But
So-
to get back to the main thing I was actually trying to say, because I'm hopeless at talking circles, was the fact you were sharing the story of how he posted on Facebook, and I think you said go fuck yourself or something to him.
He was leaving California in preparation to go to Colombia. We didn't know what was going to happen. We were excited for him because, you know, coming to Korea had been such a positive experience for me teaching. It was like one of the happiest times of my life, and we were just so proud of him. So at that time we were excited, and he was saying he'd been in California 3.5 or 4 years, and he was like, I have loved California. It's shown me all these amazing things. I'm heartbroken to leave, but I'm excited for Colombia, all that stuff. This really long, heartfelt post, which if you know, you don't know Jameson, but if you know Jameson, it's not how we really talked usually. So this very like burying his feelings type of thing, and I responded, I commented, "Fuck you, Jameson," and, but like he knew it was a joke. Like that was his type of humor too. So that was kind of me acknowledging, but not being too, you know, like it's like you friends calling each other names. It's like not being too sappy, but also expressing, you know, your positive feelings. It's that kind of thing.
That's how me and the boys are. We're always just insulting each other basically all the time. There's a lot of stuff that definitely can't be said in an open forum, to say the least. But to get back on track with talking about like your content, so obviously you have the Kingdom Hearts series. You moved on, not necessarily moved on from it because obviously it's still going, but you've transitioned into doing movie reviews and things of that nature.
Movie discussion, I guess I think I would call it, because sometimes it's a review, but it's
not.
It'll be like a review recommendation analysis.
Basically, let's talk about a movie that I like that I've seen. I mean, that's how I feel about my videos. I don't know how to describe them. I'm like, sometimes it's like my most recent one, the Tekken one, where I'm just goofing around, having a bit of fun. I just wanted to talk about a game that I loved from when I was a kid. And then,
for anyone interested, that Tekken video just dropped like 2 hours ago or something.
Yeah, and this video will only be coming out like a week later.
yeah.
No, it'll probably be out this week. I'll be good. I'm good with the
whatever.
The interviews are the easy one. The actual videos, they're the ones that I spend like 20-30 hours for an 8-minute video and go, 10 people watched it. Great. I'm gonna go cry now.
Hey. I know that feeling.
It's the best.
So guys, that after this video, that Tekken video, I know this video is like about, you know, my stuff, but like after this video, that Tekken video has a fantastic little basketball scene in it that you guys
right at the end. Me dunking on YouTube.
Yes.
My dad got an absolute massive. He lost his shit laughing at that because he's like, "Oh, I didn't know you could make that." I'm like, "Yeah, no, I was just like," because he was in hospital, and I was like working on the videos sort of keep myself distracted, and I was like working on Tekken 3. For those who don't know, if you haven't watched the video, please go watch it. But the Mishima family is, we'll say, unique in their love of just yeeting each other off high places to their death. And no one ever actually dies. It's very strange. But yeah, I just
making them games.
Yeah, I always saw it as like like, you know, the whole idea of like patricide and shit like that. I'm like, you know, people, the joke that everyone's dad walked out on them. I'm like, let's do the opposite of that. I thought that was funny. And then as I said, his dad was in hospital at the time. Thankfully, he's all good now. But it was just okay. Yeah, no, it wasn't that serious. It's just a kind of, you know, he's getting a bit older, just going to get checked out and all that good stuff. But yeah, it was just a situation where I was like, you know what, let's do something stupid, a little bit funny. And it was more made for me and him as a joke. And I thought, I couldn't stop laughing at my own joke. Like, no, I'm not kidding. I sat here for like 2-3 hours just laughing at this like 10-second clip over and over again. So yeah, that's why
that kind of thing is infectious. I think people can pick up on that when they're watching. I think it makes it adds a little bit of richness to it.
It's not a very serious video, which I'd say is kind of like a problem I have with some of my other videos. It's a little too serious for my liking. Like, I've had to, which might be a spoiler, probably. I'm working on a Pokemon Generation 1 video, and my original script was just a little bit too serious, so I had to like rewrite the entire thing. But I didn't want to rewrite it because I was lazy and I'd already typed it out, so I just did it all off the top of my head. So that's going to be a video. Whether it's a good one's a whole other story, but we'll see what happens when that one comes out. But I reckon you have a few really, really good videos. But I think one of the most interesting videos you've done is the Batman video. What was that like?
The second one.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so context, yeah, before I started my tribute series for my brother, my first idea was analyzing stories in the sense that I in like an English teacher literature type of way, literature type of way. No, like literary analysis is what I'm saying. Like you go through and you pick out the symbolism and the themes and what the writer, the artist was trying to say. Like, why did you? I approach stories. I love stories. Stories are my favorite thing. It's my favorite part of video games, and I love stories. And with movies, I approach it like everything is intentional. Why did they talk about this in this like 30-second segment? Even though it's not relevant to what literally happens in the plot, is it relevant to the kind of message that the movie's trying to get across? Probably yes. So I kind of treat everything as intentional, not to like sometimes, you know, what's that meme of the "It's Always Sunny" guy trying to connect all the dots on the whiteboard or whatever?
I know what you mean.
Not quite like that, but I do think everything is intentional, and so I try to analyze stories, and that's actually the most fun I get out of stories is just figuring out what I think the artist was trying to say, and I do think I have a knack for it. Like I analyzed the movie Minority Report from 2002, which is
a brilliant video. There will be a link directly below because I think that's my favorite video of yours to date.
That's my favorite of mine.
Thank you. It's so. I've watched it a couple times. It's just one of those that's worth sitting down. It's a bit of a longer video.
It's like 46 minutes or something. Yeah.
But
it's like 53.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's long, but
that's like longer than my three videos for Digimon World 1, 2, and 3 combined. But
it's not. I mean, I don't feel like it's fluff. Like I felt like I had a lot to say. I felt like I was drowning while I was writing it because as I was writing and going through the movie, I kept on making these new connections that it wasn't me trying to see it. It was just like stuff was, as I kind of dug through the thematic content of the movie, it's like more stuff was presenting itself. And I really did feel like I was losing track of it all. Like I actually sent the script to my friend and just asked him to read it before I went on with the video just to make sure it made sense because it was just so like thick and dense. But I'm very happy with that one. But that's just an example of like what I most like to make, and that's the most fun I get out of stories is trying to figure that out. But with the Batman, the 2022 movie with what's the guy's name? Twilight. Everyone knows him as Twilight. They make fun of him, but he's a really good actor. Robert Pattinson, thank you. Yeah, he's actually a fantastic actor.
When you say Twilight, I then make the connection to Harry Potter, and then I'm like, the dead guy. that's the only way I remember him because like no offense to him, like he's a brilliant actor. It's just I'm not much of a movie guy. I am very much a cooking show, if you couldn't tell from this lovely double chin kind of guy. So, but no, like I found that video to be very interesting because I felt like it was a very self-reflective video. Like there was more to it than just a story analysis. Because because the whole idea of that video is how I've learned to love the Batman. Essentially,
I
feel like love's a bit of a strong word, but
It is a strong word, but when the Batman first came out, bunch of people are about to click off this video. When the Batman first came out, I really did not like it. I don't want to say I hated it, but I was very disappointed. I turned to my friend Bobby and I was like, that kind of sucked. And it wasn't like so many people immediately jumped. I made a video titled "I didn't like the Batman at all." It's like 7 minutes of me just saying why I didn't like it. A lot of my problems were with the tone, and I felt like it took itself really seriously, which I normally like, but it felt like serious in what felt to me like a juvenile type of way. Like this teenager thinks he's really blowing your mind with his like dark thoughts or something.
Yeah.
And so immediately a ton of people, that video actually took off and did better than almost any other I've made, but people were saying like, you only like Marvel, you need colorful stuff and jokes. I was like, no, I literally don't. Like I actually don't really watch much Marvel stuff. I like some of it, but I didn't like the movie. But so many people loved the movie that I was like, okay, I'm not going to sit here and be an asshole about this. Like I feel like I am being gaslit by the rest of the world. Like I feel like I am living in a different reality than all of you, because my reaction was so opposite. But this isn't me just like I'm not going to call everyone stupid. I really do want to know why they thought that. So I watched the movie 2 more times. And then one of the common complaints, people criticizing me for my video was like, yeah, this guy doesn't read comics. And I did not read comics. That was true. So I bought and read not a bunch, but like 4 or 5 of the kind of the most popular Batman comics. Year One, Long Halloween, The Court of Owls, Hush, Killing Joke, and everyone said the Batman is a movie for comic fans, and it's it pays tribute to the comics and stuff. And so I read those comics. I really enjoyed some of them, and then I like Long Halloween and Dark Victory, the sequel to Long Halloween. Those were fantastic. Year One was really good. Court of Owls and Hush, there was stuff I liked about him. I guess I don't need to talk about Batman comics too much, but I read them and I thought about him, and then I watched the movie again in preparation for making like an updated review. And I liked the movie quite a bit more after reading the comics, and it's still not like I just like the Christopher Nolan movies better. There are things the Batman does better, but in general, I like the Nolan movies better. I just like what they're going for better, but I'm no longer. I get why the Batman is the way it is now. Like it is definitely trying to capture the feel of the comics, and that feel maybe isn't always my personal stylistic preference, but I understand that all of those things were intentional. And so in the sense that it was setting out to do a certain thing, I actually think it really succeeded at a lot of that. So my opinion is I respect the movie a lot more now.
I just think that it's very fascinating because like a lot of people, especially these days, everyone knows the internet is a lovely, beautiful place where everyone just gets along and is willing to be wrong. It's just to me, it was a very refreshing video to see someone go, okay, well, I can see, like, look, this is not for me. Let me see why you like it. Like, let me try and put myself in the other person's shoes. And it was a very refreshing video, I think, in terms of what it is. As I said, the Minority Report one is still my favorite, but I think the why I like the Batman or whatever it was titled, I'm completely forgetting. That to me was a video that's like, okay, this really does show off you, if that makes sense. Like someone who is willing to be open-minded, willing to put yourself in someone else's shoes and change your opinion based on new evidence. It's not just I'm blindly liking or disliking thing because X person or X group is so. And
and
I think it's just to me, it's just a situation where it makes your content, as I said, that very genuine, like down to earth feel. It doesn't feel mass produced. It doesn't feel overproduced. It feels like this is something that Jordan has made. This is his content.
I'm glad to hear you say that. I appreciate that. And actually, because I definitely don't want to, like, even if my channel ever gets big enough for a sponsorship, and no shade to anyone who does sponsorships, but I don't ever want to like tell people to buy a Ridge wallet or something. But it's I just kind of
Shadow Legends, give me that money, please. I'm broke.
Yeah, I understand people want to get money, and that's fine. But I'm just saying, like, I wasn't changing my tune just to get views or anything. Like I was really like very highly confused, and so I was like, okay, I am interested in exploring this further. I wouldn't watch the 3-hour movie 3 more times if I wasn't. But I actually think that video, that updated video, I still like. I still go pretty hard on some of the things I don't like in that video, but a lot of things actually, but in a more I think in a more responsible reasoned way, because that 7-minute video was just, I didn't even want to make the video. I assumed nobody would watch it.
Yeah.
It was me kind of in a bad mood with a blanket over my head, just like ranting into my mic. And so this updated video, I recorded in my little padded not noise canceling, but like noise dampening sound booth, and I like put effort into it. But I feel like if somebody loves the Batman and watches the video, they're going to be pissed off. If somebody goes to my video, someone who hated the Batman and is like hoping for me to tear it a new one, they're going to get little whiffs of that, but then they're also going to hear me saying stuff that I think it did really well. And so I feel like I might have shot myself in the foot with that for a certain type of people, but that's fine. I made it the way I wanted. I like that it's like balanced and nuanced. And I said at the beginning, it's going to be a roller coaster, whether you like the movie or don't. So
I think it's one of those things where, just to give a shout out again to my mate Pixel, I always shout him out because he's my boy. Even though we are both too lazy to meet up, he literally lives like 40 minutes away from me, and we're both like, we've known each other for like 6-7 years, and we're like, we'll just hang out on Discord, that's easier. But when he started to get any form of traction for a while there on his YouTube, he was making basically specifically Spider-Man based content. And although he loves Spider-Man, he's like, I hate this, hate having to just be this specific type of content. And he pivoted away, and thankfully it's been working out for him, and I hope he continues to have fantastic success.
I'm happy to hear that.
The reason why I bring that up is, to me, I see, because I know the hard work he's putting in and things of that nature. When I look at it, I see a man who is like, I'm going to make this content regardless because I'm making it for me. Do you feel that you're in that similar situation, or do you think if you didn't start to have some form of traction, not that obviously we're huge or anything like that, but we're relatively
definitely not.
We're pretty small channels, but at the end of the day, do you feel like if you didn't have the success you've had up to this point, you would continue, or do you think you would make these videos regardless?
I think I would make them regardless up to a point. The tribute videos from my brother, I'm gonna finish that series. I know people don't watch that kind of thing, and it like video game plus guy you don't know talking to the camera does not work well within the algorithm. People don't, they're like, wait, what is this? This isn't, I'm gonna go click on something else. So that doesn't work, and I don't expect any of those videos to blow up. The first one did better than the rest because it's like new and right off the bat I explained, but the rest, but I'm gonna finish that series. That's for my brother. It's not for me to get rich or any, it's not for me to like get views on YouTube. I'm putting it on YouTube because I want people to see it. Like exactly what you said. I want people to get something out of it. Actually, a lot of the growth I got is a result of like Avalanche Jared shouting me out, and some of the success I had from videos like the movie stuff, Minority Report. I get some subscribers from that. Every single time I release one of my Jameson videos, immediately within like a few hours, I lose 2 to 4 subscribers. Every single time, it's like I'm punished for making one of those. But I'm gonna do it. It sucks. I wish that didn't happen, but I'm gonna finish that series. That series is one of my main goals with my channel. Like I'm very passionate about stories, and that's what I want to talk about long term. But and that's what I want my channel to continue to be. But I also low key hope that as people come to my channel for that, they might find my Jameson series and take a look at it and get something out of it. But like, I'm not saying I'm only using the movies to draw people to the tribute series. I want to do both, but eventually the tribute series will be done and I'll focus on movies. But as far as story analysis, and not only movies, I should say, like I have some game stuff I want to talk about, story analysis, but Yeah, I mean, like the Batman video took me. I'm very busy, and I go to school. I study
Mm,
Korean, and I also teach. I work, and I'm married, and I'm really busy, and I don't actually have a lot of time. So the Batman video took me like 3 months to make,
mm.
uh, and it was a lot of work. And I think it has like 600 and something views now. It's been out for a few months, and that's not very many views. And all I'm saying is like I wanted to make that video, and there are other videos I actually want to make a lot more than I wanted to make that one.
Mm.
So even if I'm not getting a lot of views, I'll make the ones I really want to make. But there will come a point where if I'm not having any success, I won't be able to justify spending a lot of time. Like I first and foremost, I have to be responsible to my wife and my family, and like
Yeah,
I that stuff is important.
it's
But
way more
I
important, you know.
of course, yeah. But I mean, I do like not to like sound like my head's at my ass, but I do think I make very good stuff. Like
Mm,
I I would like people to see my videos, not to be like, wow, smart or something, but because I do feel like I've added stuff to these discussion. Like I feel like my video on Minority Report is I've watched the other videos with like hundreds of thousands of views, and they're well made and stuff, but I think mine with like its 1,000
mm.
1.2K views is, from what I've seen, and I've watched a bunch of the others, the most comprehensive, like in-depth, like here's everything you could possibly think of, and here are all these themes that were like attention was definitely given to them, and
Mm.
I think it's the best. I'm sorry, like I'm sorry
Yeah,
if that
no,
sounds arrogant.
I know. I like to anyone who does want to go. Oh, that is arrogant. Firstly, shut up. Make your own content that you're proud of.
I don't
That's
think
the
that
first
about
thing.
all my videos, but I do think that about my
Yeah.
Minority Report
Well,
video.
it's like
Yeah.
me, right? Like I look. If anyone asks me, until my Project Zomboid video, which I'm very happy has done well, and is
Oh yeah, me
now
too, man.
that has beaten my Sims video and a couple of random Let's Play videos I have for my most viewed video, because anyone for the last like year and a bit could ask me, "Oh, what's my favorite video?" And I'm like, "It is definitely not that Sims video. I hate that Sims video. I want to delete it. I want it gone, but I can't justify it because it still brings in views. You know, because I want people to come to my channel. I want them to see my content." But my favorite video is going to be my Doom video. I love my Doom video. It was stupid. It was fun. You know,
It was fun.
Yeah, it was like 50 hours of work for an 8-minute video, and loved it. You know, my Final Fantasy VIII video, I love that video. Is it well written? No, it is not a well written video, but it is a very raw video to me because it is a thing that I was very passionate about. You know, because it's my favorite Final Fantasy. And I know some people are out there, but Final Fantasy VIII shit. Yes, it is. I know it's bad. The storytelling is it's all over
I
the
really
place.
like 8.
I love 8, but like the story is dumb. It's stupid. It goes like really batshit by the end. Whereas, you know, like there are better games, like something like The Darkness and The Darkness 2, like my other equal favorite games. They're very well written because they're based off comic books. They have like a lot more professional writing to them rather than let's have a video game story. It's like we have an actual story. But I think it's one of those things, you're allowed to take pride in something that you've done well. Pardon me. Whereas like the Minority Report video, it's like, yes, that is a very good video. Like that is a video I would put up against any video on the platform easily.
Thank you.
Like there's not many videos I would say out there that I think are to the point and cover everything to that extent. Right? Like it doesn't matter who it is. You know, I've watched like a lot of just random stuff because, you know, I've got a lot of spare time. So until I don't have spare time, I'm going to continue to watch random stuff. I have yet to see a video by pretty much any other movie review or analysis or anything of that nature that I would say is better or equivalent to, if that makes sense. Like I would say it is like it's an S tier video. It's like you wouldn't change a damn thing about it, you know, because what would you change? You know, how could you make it better? Yeah, and that's what
I think I could.
I always ask.
I could
people,
maybe. Okay.
You know, like
I think I could trim the beginning where that video. The problem is it's part of a recommendation series, but I wanted to do an analysis, so I did both. So the first 13-ish minutes of the video are me kind of like critiquing it as a movie. And some people who only want the analysis might not sit through that or might not skip ahead. I'm happy with how it is, but in terms of performance, that might not have been wise on my part.
Yeah, but YouTube can also suck a fatty. Like, some videos do really well, and others that you think you've done well. Like, my Project Zomboid video, I know a lot of people seem to like it. I actually, like, I think it's good. I just don't think it's my best work. I like my Croc video more than I like my Project Zomboid video, and I like my Tekken video more than I like my Croc video, you know? And
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and the odds are, like, the way in which that's perceived just comes down to who likes what, and everyone's different. You're not going to be able to please everyone, but I think if you've got, you know, basically here's an analysis and here's like the full in-depth everything about this movie you could possibly think of, like, you've got everything, you know, like, there's no other way to make people happy. And the best comparison I can think of is take favorite guitar solos of all time. As a musician, you know, I always get asked what's my favorites in that, and I go, okay, well, Blackbird by Alter Bridge. I absolutely adore the guitar solo. It's very raw, emotional, but there's two guitar solos, technically three if you want to be pedantic, but there's two main guitar solos that played back to back by two different guitarists. One's raw and emotional, the other's fast and technical, and they're both as good as each other for different reasons.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, would I change it to be, considering the song is a very emotional song, would I get rid of the fast and technical? Because just pure emotion would theoretically be better. You know, it's like, well, it wouldn't be it if it didn't have both.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, like, it's one of those things where it's like, I think about songs all the time as a musician, and I go, okay, would I change anything to that? Like, what could I add? You know, and that's how I like to grade things. Like, if I could change it and make it theoretically better, then I think it could improve. But if I can't come up with any way to make it better, it's like, how can I? You know?
So you're basically like viewing videos as pieces of art, as works of craft versus just being content. Yeah. I agree. I think that's a good way to look at it.
And I think that's how I would see your videos, because they're not content for content's sake. There is a passion to it. And again, it goes back to that, as I said earlier, being genuine. Whereas, like, I look at my videos of my cat. Is there a lot of passion to the videos of my cat that's on my channel? No. It's like, hey, here's my cat. She's adorable. I love her. Who's currently taking a nap and looking at me from under the screen. Like, hey, when are you getting up to give me treats, you fat prick? But it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, this isn't a passion. Like, I love my cat, but it's like, filming her is not a passion. It's just like, oh, this is funny. People might want to see my cat. Like, that's content for content's sake. Whereas, you know, like, the Why I Love Final Fantasy VIII, the Croc, the Project Zomboid, it's like, that's a little bit more of a thought process. You know, like, there's a little bit more passion to it. There's like, here's a game that I want to talk about. Here's like things about this that I want to talk about and communicate to people. You know, although I don't think I did the best job in Project Zomboid, because apparently people think that I hate the game, even though I said multiple times that it's great. But God forbid anyone actually listen. The joys of YouTube.
Get the impression you hate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The joys of YouTube.
Shout out to the guy who's like, you don't know what a roguelike is. I'm like, but this game's a horror survival game first. Roguelike second. Like, the roguelike part's the secondary, not the main. And I use Frankenstein as my example for that, because I'm like, what do you consider Frankenstein? Is it a sci-fi horror or a horror sci-fi? You know, because a lot, like, in pop culture, you'd consider it a horror sci-fi because people think of Frankenstein's monster, so therefore horror. Whereas if you read it, it's sci-fi first, horror second, because the sci-fi is the horror.
And like kind of philosophical too.
Yeah. Brilliant story. I've actually been meaning to reread it. It's been sitting next to my bed for like 6 months, like the book, and I'm just like, I need to read it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to look at pictures of cats instead because I'm hopeless. You know, priorities. So
I need to reread it too.
Yeah, it's I read it back in like 2011, and I've been trying to read more actual books, but I just end up reading manga and comics and like just random stuff. And I'm like, I need to read more books because I want to get better at my writing.
And books. It's hard to actually like make yourself sit down and read a book sometimes, but books are so worth it, and they're so much more substantive than most of the other stuff that's so much easier and quicker to just dive into, honestly.
Yeah.
And it depends on the book, but
yeah. Now you mentioned that you are. Well, I also mentioned it at the very start that you're in Korea. This is something I wanted to ask. Other than the "Do you guys even have vending machines?" question I sent you.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
that. Just randomly. But what made you like actually decide to go to Korea in the first place? Like, what was the kind of driving force behind that?
A little bit of a long story, but I'll condense it. I'll have to leave some stuff out because I'll have to leave some stuff out. But I was actually, I knew someone who had taught in Korea for 2 years and really liked it. Thought it was a good experience. This is like a good guy. If you have a 4-year degree, you can teach English in Korea. Please don't come here. Anyone listening with a 4-year degree, please don't come here just expecting like I'm gonna come do an easy job. Like, please come here and try to like anyone who decides to come here, try to actually like learn how to be a good skilled teacher and focus on giving the students like a worthwhile
lesson.
Please respect their time and the fact that their parents want them to be educated well and stuff. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so I knew someone who taught in Korea and he recommended it, and someone that I was dating at the time, that I am no longer dating because I'm married to a different person now, but someone I was with, we were going to go together, and that ended up falling through in a pretty big way. Holding myself back from hanging this person out to dry, but okay. We're just going to say that that person ended up going to Korea without me, and they got what they were looking for, I guess.
Yep.
And I didn't know what I was going to do, and then I thought, well, I guess I could just go to Korea alone, and so I did. I had watched several Korean dramas up to that point. Didn't really like a lot of them. Few were fun, but it was mostly just like, oh, I've seen this culture in these dramas, and now I actually kind of want to like see it real for myself.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I got a job as an English teacher and ended up being very happy and really enjoyed teaching. I was at the same elementary school for 7.5 years. There were in Korean elementary schools, it starts with first grade through 6th grade is how it works, and so there were kids who, like I was teaching at the school before they even entered school, who then went through all 6 years of the school with me being the English teacher at that school. There were families, cool. And kids in Korea don't start learning English in public school until 3rd grade. And for the first several years of teaching, I only taught grades 5 and 6 because of the way my school was set up. The last 2 years of teaching, I did the grades 3, 4, 5, and 6. But there were like their families where all 3 of their children, like all the children they have, had me as their English teacher, as their first English teacher. And it, like, I would walk to and from the school, and like the moms would be taking their kids, and like there were like moms that I would recognize because they always like nodded to me and said hi, and friendly security guard at a building near the school. Every day I'm walking home to go to the going to the bus stop, and the security guard would come out and wave at me. One of my last days when I was carrying my stuff from my literal last day as I was leaving the school, carrying like my box of things back to my home. Was too much for me to carry. A security guard guy ran over and helped me carry it to a taxi. It's just like this, and this is like more than what you asked, but I just had this little community around my school, and it just felt alive, and people recognized me and kind of knew what I was doing there, and it was just 7.5 years of being very happy. It wasn't always good days, but in general, it was a very happy time in my life. It was like precious, and I actually am like now at this moment almost getting I'm close to getting a little choked up talking about it, so I'm going to stop. But I got married, and so I moved to Seoul to be with my wife, and now I study Korean, finally trying to like really learn the language instead of just kind of like patchwork learn it. And I'm a private tutor, so I don't teach in a school anymore, but I teach some kids and some adults, like one-on-one.
So how do you find the difference? Like, because obviously Seoul is a massive city, and I am by technical standards, a country bumpkin, based on my country's definition. How do you find that it's like going from a more quiet, peaceful, even like that 7.5 years you were talking about, where it's, just calm, essentially, like every day's, for the most part.
Oh, I wouldn't
normal.
exactly say calm. It's because I'm also from it's a fast growing city, but compared to most places in Korea, it's kind of like a country bumpkin. Like, I'm from Tennessee. I'm from a place outside Nashville that most people haven't heard of. Oh, and that's something that ties in with Jared. The reason that Jared and I kind of took to each other is because Jared let drop that he used to live in a small town in Tennessee, which is my hometown. And I was like, what? And so that's kind of, he very quickly became like interested in me, like, whoa, because we actually know some of the same people, which is nuts. Like, because I just found him. I just found him on YouTube. I had no idea until like after I'd already decided to join his Patreon. But I'm from outside Nashville, so kind of a small-ish town. I had to drive like 10, 15 minutes just to get to like a Walmart from the house I grew up in. But when I was 24, I moved to Seattle, and I lived in Seattle for 3.5 years. So I already had experience living in like a much bigger city. So when I went to Korea, even a small-ish town in Korea is often going to be busier than a small town in America. It's going to feel like a city. And so like when my dad came to visit me, we didn't even go to Seoul because he was like, honestly, this town that you're living in right now just feels big city. It just feels big city enough for me.
Yeah.
But Seoul is definitely busier. And at certain times of the day, the subway is so crowded with people, and this is just what they're used to because it's such a densely populated country. The subway is so packed, you're literally pressed up against people, and like you can't really, you definitely can't move, and in some cases you can't even really move your arm to like reach into your pocket.
Yeah.
During certain times of the year, like I went to a fireworks festival kind of in the summer, late summer, early fall a few years ago. And it's a huge festival. Every year it's really crowded. And the subway had employed staff whose job it was to stand outside the train cars and physically pack people into the... I'm not even joking. Like, people were getting paid that night to push people, as many people as they could, into the train car.
I feel like I'd be good at that job, except everyone would look at me like, holy shit, where's this big fat guy come from? I feel like I'd be like twice the size of everybody there.
But it's not always like that.
Yeah.
That's just a couple nights.
Yeah. Do you find like that you get homesick at all, like for America, or do you find that like the family and life that you have now is like that's like it's like this is what
I don't really feel homesick. And I love my family, and when I do go back home, I'm happy to be there, and I smile seeing the familiar sights. The very first time I finally went back to my hometown, it was after my brother died, and it was to attend his memorial. And as the plane was touching down, and I saw the familiar landscape of Tennessee and like that like grass, that like Tennessee grass and stuff, I was looking out the plane window, and even though I hadn't really cared that much about the place in particular, like I hadn't missed it, but I just got the biggest smile on my face seeing it. And then I got a little teary-eyed because I was just thinking about, growing up, and James, this was like fresh right after he died, so I'm not homesick, but it's not out of any like hatred or disdain for my home, and I'm happy to see my family and stuff, but it's like I'm very happy in Korea too. There are things about Korea that annoy me, but for the most part, I love it here. I kind of miss old-fashioned like Southern American style diners. Like I miss Waffle House and like getting a plate of hash browns and like some toast and that super low quality coffee that it tastes really good even though it's like not good.
Yeah. That's what
I miss that kind of
good.
stuff. Yeah. Unironically, I guess it's a cliche, but it just tastes like home.
Yeah.
So I do miss that kind of stuff sometimes, but not in a way that gets me into like deep. Like I'm never like sitting around being like, oh, I'm homesick. Like I just kind of, I guess I'm too busy to really
think about
that. Yeah, I don't know. I keep pretty busy with videos and stuff.
I've always wanted to ask someone who lives overseas that question because, as someone who lives in Australia, obviously, I live down not on the little island down the bottom, but I'm down on the southern east coast, and I'm in a spot where it's like I've thought like in terms of I'm getting to a point in my life where it's like, yeah, I want to be able to travel, things like that. And I was always curious as to what it's like living overseas because I feel like, as obviously, yes, I'm a bigger guy. I'm not going to shy away from it. I joke about it. You know, I'm actively trying to lose weight. I'm looking after myself to the best of my abilities, all that good stuff. But it's a situation where I look at it, I go, what kind of culture shock would I have, especially for someone of my size? Because, you know, if I went to like Japan, Korea, like basically any Asian country, because let's be real, they're a lot more health focused than what you know most Western countries tend to be for the most part. Because I had a friend who I guarantee she'll never see this video, but when I worked my first job out of high school, lovely girl, she's my height, so she's 6'2", 6'3", and she went to teach English in Japan. And she used to tell me everywhere she went, she would just get looked at. And I'm like,
oh yeah.
Do you find that happens even like, you know, in Korea? Do you find that like you're almost like a, lack of a better term, a freak show because you're not the quote unquote norm over there, or?
A little bit, but not as much in Seoul. There are a lot more foreigners in Seoul.
Yeah.
But yeah, Korea, I mean, it's I want to say it's like 95% ethnically Korean or more. Like it's, you know, there are people who have only ever seen foreigners on TV, like Hollywood movies and stuff. My wife's mother had never in her life spoken to a foreigner. Like she'd seen them from a distance, but had literally never interacted with one. And when I went to their home for the first time to meet them and ask permission to marry their daughter, she was very visibly like nervous, and it wasn't because she thought she had any bad. I don't think she had like bad ideas of foreigners, but it's just I think we living in, you know, you in Australia, me from the States, we just take for granted living among people who look different than we do.
Yeah.
And these like a lot of Koreans simply truly never have interacted with people who aren't also Korean. So it's what is no big deal for us can actually just be like they just don't know what to expect. And I guess, spoiler, there's nothing to expect. It's just like, here's another person, but they just don't know what to expect. And so, yeah, I mean, like I'll be stared at. I'll be stared at by very small children sometimes, especially because they, you know, they haven't had much time to see foreigners.
Yeah.
And sometimes some old people will stare, but I'll say like sometimes if depending on the mood I'm in, I really don't want to be stared at, like stop. But mostly I understand it and it's not a big deal. It's like it's not hurting me. I just pretend I don't see it. I look at my phone or something. But there are people, you know, like somebody with people with like afros or people who are like super tall. I'm like 5'9", so I'm very, very average. But there are people who definitely get stared at a lot more than I do. And they might have a different opinion about it, but it's not been too big of a deal for me.
Now, you've mentioned a few times, obviously, that you're an extremely busy individual with like everything you got going on and trying to balance all aspects of life. How do you find that it affects your desire to create videos? Do you find that you are kind of wanting to make videos more because you don't have the time, or are you finding that it's a situation of I'll do it when I do it, it's not a priority kind of thing?
Oh, it's for the most part, it's the former. Like I'm really like itching to get to work on, like to get that little bit closer to finishing the thing that I'm in the midst of making, especially if it's because I have things in the future that I haven't even started on that I know I definitely really, really want to make, movies that I love that I haven't seen anyone say the things about them that I have in my head that I do think were intentional. Like it's like I feel like I have something to add and I definitely want to make it, but like first things first. And just knowing all that stuff that's ahead of me and knowing like how far back on the list I am, it just makes me, I feel like I kind of fight for any scrap of time I have. And I don't want to, not that it really matters to strangers listening, but I very much prioritize the important things, and like I take a walk around the area with my wife every single night, make sure we both get to 10,000 steps. Like I want to. That stuff is so much more important. But I definitely do. Always, I'm always thinking about like, am I going to have time today? Like, I hope I'll have time to get something substantial accomplished.
So, do you find
I'm always aching to make?
Yeah. Do you find that when you're getting, say, stuck on a specific part of a video, whether it be scripting, audio work, like just clearing up voice lines, things like that, or the visuals, do you find if you do get stuck, it's more frustrating than it should be? Like if you like reflect on it, or do you find that, look, I get a little annoyed at the time, but we get past it, sort of thing?
I guess it can be there can be a kind of like vague background frustration of just feeling like all of this is taking so much longer than I thought it was going to. Like I look at how much of a timeline I have left and I'm like, that's not that bad. But then there's like something that should have been, it feels like it should have been 30 to 60 seconds of editing that turns into like a big chunk of my entire night I'd be hard pressed to give you an example. Maybe I have to edit an image to really illustrate my point or something, but yeah, there are little things. Everything always takes so much longer than you think it's going to. Without fail, everything does. And so, yeah. But it's like I guess I don't get super frustrated because I'm more just in the moment, in the middle of trying to do it and solve it.
And kind of last kind of thing on this point is, what is kind of your workflow when it comes to starting a project? Say you're starting a whole new project, a new movie, you're doing Shrek 2, the greatest movie ever made, apparently. As an example, you're doing a new movie. What's your workflow like? Like, what's the sort of process you would go through in order to make that kind of thing happen?
So, I watched the movie again. Chances are I know what I kind of have to say about it, but I watched the movie again with those things in mind to kind of make sure, and also to pick up on anything I might have missed that might tie in or might clue me into some other train of thought that I think is worth pursuing. I might watch it 2 times, but usually I'll watch it again once, and then I'll start my script, and then as I'm writing the script, I'll go back through the movie and like maybe just look at like a few specific parts. Now, I don't rewatch the movie every single time, but I'll like go and find the part just to make sure they said it that way, or like where was the camera focusing when this person said this, and just kind of comb through as necessary. And I write my script. I spend, obviously it varies, but I usually spend at least a couple days on the first draft, I'd say, and then more time to revise it, just kind of clean it up. And then I'll often show it to somebody just to kind of make sure it's like this. It has to make sense to people who are not inside my head. Like I have to make sure I've made all the connections, and then comes my least favorite part, which is recording the script, and I hate recording. Living in Korea, the air quality, like I am constantly having to clear my throat, and I'm getting over a cold right now, so it's a little bit worse than normal, but man, is there nothing worse than being in the middle of like a really good take, a really good recording of that sentence, saying it the way you wanted, and then like getting all like in the middle of a word, and that happening in such a way that you have to start the entire sentence again. And like the way I write, I use a lot of like really complex sentences, like in complex compound, like combining sentences. So it's I might have to go back fairly far, because even if I just start from where I messed up, it's like I'm saying it anew. Yeah. So it's like it'll sound weirdly grafted onto the previous sentence if I do it that way. So it is. I'm not gonna mince words here. It is such a pain sometimes to just like get it the way I want it to sound. And also like my recording voice is only really available in the morning before I've really eaten, or like after I drink like milk or like coffee for the day, I'm basically done. And like no more recording that day because my voice is not the same, and I can't sound the way I want. Yeah. And so it's like I have to like intelligently, strategically plan out when I'm going to even record, and it takes forever. And then after I recording is a nightmare. I don't mean to sit here and complain because I make the videos. Obviously, I like to make the videos. I'm just saying this part I do not like. But
Yeah.
after recording, editing the audio, and all my little mouth pops and clicks, and I just heard one as I said that, and sounds of my tongue slapping around the walls of my mouth, and I try to remove that as best I can without like horribly diminishing the overall quality of the sound. Blah 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 blah, all this stuff, and then finally finish the audio, and then that's really satisfying because then you can slap that big long audio file on a Premiere timeline and start adding footage and seeing it really come together and start putting music and stuff, and then it's just like, oh man, this is what I wanted to make.
Yeah. You get the annoying part done first, and then get to do the fun.
You
part.
Have to.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make any sense for me to like add footage without the audio because I time the clips to like sentences or clauses.
Yeah.
So I have to have the audio first anyway.
Yeah. Because I mean, I'm in a very similar situation where I obviously will record all of my audio first, and I have a slightly different workflow, not entirely different. Yeah. But I will do a very similar thing. Like I already know what I want to say about a game. It's very rare I pick a game that I haven't touched before, because I've been playing my entire life. I love video games, always have, always will. But it's a thing where I'll go, okay, well, I already know what I want to say about it. So, like, I'm thinking of, like, potential upcoming videos. I want to do one on Outriders, which is a game that came out, I think it was, like, 2019, 2020-ish. There was a game from, like, the mid-2000s on the PS2 called, like, TAC, Power of the Juju.
Yeah.
That I want to do, because I'm like, that game is so oddly racist, it's funny, as to how out of touch it is. Just looking back at it, it's like at the time, yeah, we didn't think of anything of it, but you think of it like in a more modern context, and you're like, man, that aged poorly. But it's still a fun game, like it's still a fun like 3D platformer. And like there's like just a whole list. I got like 20 something potential scripts there, and I've got like 5 that are already written and nothing that I've bothered to record because I'm too lazy. But I'll do the same thing, write a draft, usually let myself walk away for like 12 hours, then come back with fresh eyes, have another look, double check it. But typically I try not to do too many revisions, because otherwise I'm going to keep changing it. Like I know I have scrapped, I don't even know how many videos in the past. Like I had I think it was like a 45-minute long video on Resident Evil 8 just after that came out, done, and I'm like, no, not good enough, scrap it, start again, made it again, scrapped it again. I'm like, you know what, let's just not make this video, because it's just not going to happen. And
I would have loved to see that.
It's still in the books. Someday. It's still in the books.
Okay.
And because the whole point of the video was to make the stupid joke at the end. Who cares about all this anyway? You're only playing this for the giant vampire lady's tits. Like, that was the whole joke, because I'm like, a lot of people were getting into Resident Evil just because of that, and it kind of annoyed me, because I'm like, Resi's cool. Like, Resident Evil's dope. It's stupid, it's silly, it's fun, but like, it's an interesting world that they've created, if you don't include 6, especially, because 6 is it's a game. It's a game of all time. But it's one of those things where it's like, I want people to experience it. It's one of those things that, I think it's worth playing at least 1 or 2 of the games in the series at least once. It's not something you have to sit there and go, yeah, let me play like every single game and do, good old Jared and be like, yeah, let me have, 13 hours of fucking video review and every single port and how each frame is wrong in this port because this one's better.
I love that stuff so much.
So interesting. I love it. But I can see where people are like, yeah, why does that matter? It's like, because it's cool. Like, because it's not something you think about. It's definitely like, it's like playing a PlayStation game and then like going, oh, it's on Xbox and I don't have a PlayStation anymore, but I have an Xbox. I'll play it on this. Hey, it looks slightly different because of this shader or some shenanigans.
It sounds different. The villagers shouting "Ahí está" in Resident Evil 4 are compressed on the Switch or whatever, stuff like that.
Yeah. Like to me, I'm like, that is fascinating because you don't think about it.
Yeah.
Or how like all the like just like the tricks they have to do to get like lighting to work on older consoles to try and make a game look nice.
Stuff you don't even know about. Like the thing with the Silent Hill 2 HD collection, if you ever have heard about that. So like Junji, I want to say it's I want to say it's Junji Ito. I believe because at one point the fog was messed up in that HD collection, and he said it's because the PS2. I'm stealing from all the times I've like watched and rewatched Twin Perfect's video on this, but Junji Ito said the PS2 like or the PS3 has a weakness for displaying translucent textures, and the PS2 did not have that same weakness. It's just like you think of console, you think of like moving forward to the next console is like a straightforward. How would you call it? Like an upgrade in every way. It's just it's the same thing but better. It's just like got more horsepower, but it's like a totally different machine. It's like a lateral move in a lot of ways.
Yeah, the instruction,
and you just don't think about that.
Like the coded instruction set is absolutely insane. If you want like one of the most fascinating, it'll put you to sleep, I guarantee it. But like if you're willing to sit through it, a channel on YouTube, Gamers Nexus, they're pretty big for like PC component reviews. They have like I think it's either a 46-minute or an hour 46-minute, I forget. It's like super long, explaining how RAM works, like just memory that goes in your computer. Because people are like, oh, well, I bought this speed. Why does this speed matter for this CPU?
Yeah.
And all that sort of stuff. And I watched it, learnt it, forgot it, because I'm like, I don't want to rewatch it again. But, pardon me. But they went into like how the timings affect certain things and how that affects certain games, and you know what it's going to do to whether lighting will load in certain ways, because that instruction set on the RAM is only good for this specific thing, which is why on computers games can be so massively different an experience with almost identical setups, which like to me is fascinating. But getting to hear about like just different ports, like going from like PS2 to GameCube and things of that nature, you know, from Jared's videos, I'm like, that shit's just mind blowing to me, because I'm like, I am not in a situation to obviously be able to do it myself, but like growing up, it's like I knew one person with a GameCube, I knew one person with an Xbox, and I had the PS2, and we sort of just like would go to each other's house to play instead, because we're like, well, we're not like, we could buy the same console, or we could end up all getting all three and then just, you know, rotate, because like we didn't live
save
too
money
far
for
from
games.
Yeah. Like we used to, like kids in our street, we had like, there was about 3 or 4 houses of kids where we would just go between each other's places to play games on occasions. Not that I left the house very often, because I didn't like going outside very much. It's part of the reason why my lighting's so dark right now, is so I don't look too pasty. It's all strategic, I promise, not just the fact that I forgot to turn on the ring light that now I've only just noticed. But to get back to other stuff, now obviously we've talked about like movies and things of that nature, and a little bit to do with games. What would you say is an experience when it comes to movies or games, or just pop culture in general, that would have to be like just the most memorable? Not necessarily the most favorite, but like what's the most memorable? Like you picked up a game or picked up a movie or went to watch a movie or something, or rented a movie, and it's just stuck with you ever since. Do you have anything like that?
I can toss out. Yeah, there's several. There's a few that I really want to talk about. I don't know how much leeway I have. Like,
you go for it. Well, I've got like 1.2 terabytes of spare space on this hard drive, so we can record for a while.
Okay.
We got time.
Well, yeah, I realized I haven't even said my favorite movies yet. But there's a lot of movies I like. These are like, to my heart, like my favorite movies in like kind of a sentimental, like I've watched these so many times way. I've probably watched a Goofy movie. I've probably watched that more than 100 times in my life.
It's a good movie.
Actually. Yeah, I really like it since I was a kid. That and Good Will Hunting, the one that Matt Damon and Ben Affleck like wrote that together. It has Robin Williams. Good Will Hunting is a Goofy movie, and Good Will Hunting are my favorite movies. I think maybe if I had to think of like what I think is the best made movie I've ever seen, that's also very, very high on my list, 2013's Prisoners by Denis Villeneuve. Prisoners is it's a phenomenal movie, and it's one of my favorites, and I think it's one of the most beautifully, like, artfully crafted thrillers I have ever seen in my life. But um yeah, there's a lot of movie. Bicentennial Man, starring Robin Williams as an android who lives through several generations, being in touch with his family. But Robin Williams, everyone hated that movie, and even Robin Williams in his stand-up insulted that movie after it came out, even though he was the star. But I love that movie. It's one of my favorites. I think it's beautiful, and I think it's actually it's based on an Isaac Asimov shorts. I'm gonna say a short story, and good. But anyway, as far as games, my favorite. I guess everyone has these things where it's like it's your, it's not the best, but it's your favorite. My favorite game is probably Earthbound. I can't explain why.
I feel like you could argue Earthbound is one of the best games ever made, though. Like, in terms of everything about it, it is a very special game. Like,
oh yeah, it has problems with like the combat system and stuff. Like there are things about it that people might find clunky and annoying, but it just made me very happy. Like it made me feel joy in a way that's hard to really put into words why. Like it really did it for me for whatever reason. I played it when I was 14 for the first time. And I was too young to understand a lot. Like I didn't realize it was making pop culture references and stuff. Like a lot of that went over my head. So it wasn't me trying to be like esoteric or anything. I just loved it. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know why. It always kind of gave me the vibe. Like, because I've never sat down. I won't pretend that I've finished it. I have played it, but I've never finished it. Because I am terrible at getting to like the last third of a game and then just swapping to another game. Which I've done with Baldur's Gate 3 at the moment, and I'm really annoyed at myself for it. But Earthbound always had that sense of wonder and adventure that reminds me of the Goonies.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Like it's very much of its era, but it's so much better than everything else of its era that it's on like that pedestal of, it stands a test of time, even though it like clearly is from when it was made. Like it's, as you said, like it's got some clunky combat. It's might have a bit of bad translation, things like that. It's like, well, yeah, that's going to happen from that era, that era. But like you remake it today, and it's an instant classic.
And I never cared about the gameplay as much as just the overall kind of experience. The 2012 game Journey, I really adore that game, and there's not really a whole lot of gameplay to it. It's fun to play, but it's just kind of the experience.
The Journey's
Earthbound.
I like Flower.
Yeah, Journeys.
Flower was.
I love
Flower is underrated. Just
Flower is phenomenal.
Journey, I just remember because like I before I was fortunate enough to be able to buy a PS5 when they were in stock. I bought a secondhand PS4 for cheap because I had to sell my old one, and it had Flower on there, and I was just using that as a like test to make sure the console was working. And I just sat there for like 2 hours playing it. I'm like,
just play the game, and Flow also. Like usually they're packaged together in one collection. Flow is really great too. Like it's kind of like hypnotic and mesmerizing to play. But like Journey, man, Flowers music is so gorgeous. There's a track. I was listening to it in the car the other day with my wife. Vincent, I want to say his name is Vincent Diamante, did the OST for Flower, and there's a track called Splash of Color that is just one of the most gorgeous pieces of music I've ever heard in my life. I used it in one of my hiking videos for Jameson. It's a good game.
Actually, that's one thing I think that's just to go back to that series that's underrated is the music choice. I think you made a lot of really good music choices throughout. Like everything felt appropriate.
Thank you. It's a mix of Nier Automata, and there's like one or two from Persona now and then. Final. It's all over the place, but yeah,
it's all very fitting, like to the stories you're telling. Nothing feels like jarring. It's not like you're gonna have like the bouncy Persona music and be like, oh yeah, this is the day he died. It's gonna be something fucked up. Like it's gonna be all relatively within reason. And I think it's one of those things that a lot of people don't appreciate how impactful music is. It's like, I'd say the best example I'm thinking of is like how Jared is with talking about well, it's not it's not like a Resident Evil clone unless it's got this specific camera angle, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like I'm like that when I'm talking about sound in games, like just in general, like music, the actual sound of like weapons or movement. It's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, I'm like, I am very appreciative of it because I think it's one of those things that people take for granted.
A very good friend of mine, he's actually been in some of those Jameson videos too, but he said that he never pays attention to the music in games, and it just kind of breaks my heart a little bit. There's so much wonderful stuff. It's so much better than, not to shoot down anyone's favorite band, but like video games are where innovation in music is where a lot of innovation in modern music happens, is in video games, I think.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where the music is a lot more typically emotional to the scene.
I'd say so.
Because obviously it's made to be that scene. Like it's made for it. It's not written to be re-listened to over and over again. It's there to be listened to while you're going through what the character's going through and what the stories dictate. But anyway, other than Earthbound and Flower and Journey, you got any other favorites?
So, I had COVID last year and played Elden Ring while I was stuck in my home, and that was magical. That there were some moments towards the end. I loved the entire game. Elden Ring was phenomenal, but a couple moments towards the end where I was just like so shocked at what this game kept giving and like things I wasn't expecting, that I had this weird sense of like this really kind of like profound like blossoming moment in my brain where I was like, I have never played a game like this. This is an achievement, and I'm just taken aback at how wondrous this world and this experience is. And even though I just said that about Elden Ring, another game I played last year that actually hit me even harder than that, quite a bit harder, and I don't even think it's as good of a game, but it has stuck with me a lot more, is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. And I love Xenogears. Xenogears is probably my number 2 favorite game, like under Earthbound. And so Xenoblade is like kind of it's the same director. He made his own studio and makes the games. But Xenoblade 1 and 2 I think are good. I like them, but I didn't like them as much as Xenogears. But 3, because of the subject matter, it is very personal to me, because 3 deals a lot, especially in like the first half of the game, with how the survivors respond to deaths around them, and then what they do about it, and then how they move on, which very obviously, like, everybody who has lost something can resonate with that, but me in particular, because I am actively doing something that is meant to honor someone that I've lost, and it's been like I've been actively doing this and thinking about it for years. And a lot of Xenoblade 3, like if you played Final Fantasy X, you know how Yuna does the sending. They send the souls of the departed. So Xenoblade 3 has something similar where I don't want to spend too much time on this, but they're people called Offseers. When people around them that they care about die in battle, people who are a part of their colony, the Offseers send them on their way with like this flute melody, and it's really haunting to watch them standing there in the aftermath of this battle with all these corpses lying around. It's this image of maybe 1 or 2 people standing there just silent, like no one else is around or making noise, just playing a flute as a kind of final gesture of acknowledgement to all the people who have whom they have lost. And there's a lot more to the game, obviously, and it's this rich exploration of like life and humanity, and like why like life is so precious and good. And I'm starting to get a little wobbly faced talking about this now, and like multiple times while like sometimes you like see a moving scene in a movie or like a game, and you get kind of teary eyed. Like that happened to me a lot when I was like all sorts of examples. But in Xenoblade 3, I really wasn't expecting this, because I was a little put off by like, it's like very, very cutesy anime style. But multiple times throughout this 50-60 hour game, like I was like shuddering. I was like kind of sobbing almost, like tears like continuously streaming down my face. I was just like so connected to the usually someone responding to a death related scene. So Yeah, I mean, you asked me about stories that have resonated with me, and there are obviously so many, but that's like a pretty recent example. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did. It hit me like a freaking truck.
Yeah.
And
I think
and
that's
I
what makes it special though. Like when you're not expecting it, it's like
yeah.
this will be big spoilers for anyone who hasn't played The Darkness, especially the first one. But unfortunately, you can only play it on PS3 and Xbox 360. But there is rumors that they are going to be working on PC port though. Like someone bought the rights to it, and he's like, "Yeah, it's on the list. We've just got like 5 other games we've got to do first before we can do this one." But the main love interest, so you're going through, you're killing all the bad guys, all that stuff, and you're infected with the darkness, who's meant to be pure evil. So it's kind of a horror game where you're the horror element in a sense, and it's very fascinating. But you get to, after fighting through all of the mafia and that, to try and save your girlfriend, because up to this point, she's been the only person who is kind to the character, like the lead. So, because everyone else is just assholes to him. And like, so you start to really resonate with her. And I actually have, I think it's To Kill a Mockingbird. They have the entire movie in there, and you can just sit there and watch it with her, and like they'll both just sit there and watch it. And it's like I sat there and watched it. Like, it was a very surreal experience. And then you go through all this after she gets kidnapped, and then you would think, oh, cool, we're going to save her because traditional game logic says that. But no, she just gets her head fucking blown off right in front of you, and you're like, what the hell? That has been a thing that has just always stuck with me, because I'm like, that just subverted expectations, because you feel like a god in this game, because you're pure evil incarnate, you're the darkness, you have control over everything. And then just all of a sudden, it's just gone. And then the second game reiterates on that and goes even further, but I don't want to spoil the second game because I highly recommend everyone plays it, because it has a really good intro where it explains everything in a very nice, concise way. Brilliant voice acting. It's only a 4-hour game. Goes on sale all the time, so I can never recommend it enough. But yeah, the first game like subverted expectations to a point that I just like, that was something that just because I wasn't ready for it, has just never left my consciousness. Like, I was always stuck with and like, because everyone's like, all my mates growing up, we all like Kingdom Hearts and stuff like that. They were like, oh, I cried at the end when Sora didn't get to stay with Kairi. I'm like, really? Like, it didn't feel like, they wouldn't see each other again. They were like, yeah, we'll see each other again. It's like, yeah, it just means we're getting a sequel, which made me happy, because I'm like, I want more of this game. And thankfully, Kingdom Hearts 2 was like 10 times better than Kingdom Hearts 1 gameplay wise, at least on the PS2.
Yeah.
Whereas these days, I still probably beat Kingdom Hearts 1 like 5 times a year. 2 I'll do once every couple of years, because I have a compulsion to 100% it every time I play it. Because the first time I played it, because I got it day one when it came out, first game I've ever pre-ordered, and went to Toys R Us, picked it up, got mum to take me first thing in the morning, got home, I played it because it was on school holidays when it came out. I think I played it with something like 16 hours straight. A friend's like, hey, do you want to come over for dinner? I was like, all right, cool. Brought the PlayStation over, stayed at his place. We played it continuously there. Got home, slept a few hours, got up, finished the game, and I missed one fucking treasure. One. And I could never find it. It was in Mulan's world, and I could never find it. And ever since then, I have 100% of the game every time I play it. Because I'm like, it just shits me. Because I'm never going to forget that, because I was so annoyed at it. But like, I think, yeah, it's one of those things where if you're not prepared for it, it definitely hits you like a truck out of nowhere. And especially
darkness.
Yeah. The darkness, like, because I got my, at the time, ex-girlfriend to play with me. The second playthrough. She wasn't ready for it because I didn't tell her. And she was in tears. She's like, why? I'm like, because that's what they wanted to do. And then the ending gets even more sad. It's
why I guess it's one of the few ways they can make that power fantasy type of character like really vulnerable, is he can't save one of the few people who actually gives him the time of day.
Well, the only person who gave him time of day, because up to that point everyone had tried to kill him. So like it's definitely one of those games that it's got a cult following to it, and I highly recommend playing, as I said, the second game, because you'll get everything you need out of it. Because it does a really good job of summing up the first game without being like mid 2000s first person shooter mechanics. So it doesn't feel like super clunky and kind of look plasticky. Whereas the second game's a lot more stylized and everything. And it's, as I said, it's a shorter experience, but it's one of the best experiences I've ever had in a game. And that's why I never get mad at people when they sit there and go, oh, but this game's only 4 hours. It's like, I understand you want more of the game, but I'm like, if the story is 4 hours and it's the best 4 hours I've ever had, I don't care. You know, like I don't need, you know, my 200, 300, 400 hour long game. I'd rather the 4 hour game that is in here all the time rather than, you know, I put like 300 hours into like a Skyrim or something, even though those are good games.
Yeah, they're good, but how much of that do you remember?
Yeah, like nothing. You know,
like,
I remember
or like
this,
what percentage?
Yeah. Like I don't remember anything from those games. And like maybe Fallout is a different example because I love Fallout a lot more. But yeah, it's one of those things that is just always stuck with me, and I can never recommend it enough. Even if it's something where you just watch a playthrough of sort of thing. Because as I said, the first game's definitely dated.
You've actually kind of made me. I mean, like that game. I knew a game titled The Darkness existed. Knew nothing about it, but so it wasn't really on my radar. But you've kind of made me intrigued because the idea of, you know, you develop these like attachments to video game characters, like people in your party. You feel like you want to be nice to them. It's like you know, it's just code. It's not a real person, but you kind of develop a little. You get into the game and you feel close to that fictional character in a way that I guess you do more in a game than you would in like a movie or something that you're just passively watching. But the idea of like sitting and watching a movie, an entire, you know, Atticus Finch To Kill a Mockingbird movie with this character that you know you're meant to like as you go on this story, and you could get up from the movie at any time, but just that there's something very intriguing to me about that. Just
and they do a twist on that kind of idea for the ending of the second game, and this is why I have always maintained I'm not much of a crier in terms of like movies and things like that, unless it's the scene from the Pokemon movie with Pikachu crying. I will not cry at a movie. That is the only one I cry at every single time. I'm not ashamed of it. But the final scene of Darkness 1 and 2, every single time I will just be like depressed after I've played it. So I'm like, nah, I'm not going to touch these games as often as a Kingdom Hearts, because I have been, you know, because playing through them, especially during a period of time where I would say, like the first time I played it, I had recently got out of, first real proper relationship in high school. So having like a female love interest, you know, that's like super caring and that, and you like kind of latch onto, you know, you're not really aware of what love really is at that point, you know, fully. So like kind of having that, it's like, oh, well, I'm now attached to this character and their story. And then, as I said, eventually started seeing someone else, all that sort of stuff. And then 2, I just loved the gameplay, like from the first game. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get this day 1. So I went out and bought it. And I didn't expect, honestly, the sequel to be as good, because I'm like, how do you continue that emotional roller coaster given what happens and the way the game ends? And that's why, like, I highly recommend playing 2, because it does an incredible job at like just making you question everything that's going on. Because, as I said, it's not a video game narrative, which is what makes it special, because it is a comic book narrative. But it's part of the reason why we're never getting a third game, is because the comic books shut down. And so now we're stuck on the cliffhanger that is the end of the second game, and everyone's pissed off. So if anyone wants to, you know, start a petition, I'll gladly sign it. But Darkness is one of those games I can never recommend enough. Because, I'm kind of the polar opposite of you. I'm more of a gameplay guy than a story guy. I'm like, story I can live without if the game is fun. And the reason I say that is because I'm like, I have an ungodly amount of time playing Tetris. You know, like a game like Tetris, I'm like, it is pure gameplay, nothing more. You know,
I've played a lot of Smash Brothers with my wife, and we played like Overcooked. You know, there's some games where obviously I don't need the story. Yeah,
yeah,
I understand that.
yeah. But I mean, like more in my time. You know, like I'm not like I'm gonna sit down and play a story driven game super often.
Okay.
Whereas like when I was younger, definitely, but these days I'm like, no, I just want to have fun. You know, I just want to relax. So it's like I'm playing like the sports games. I'm playing, you know, your racing games. I've been playing like a lot of Gran Turismo today because managed to get a PS3 emulator working because I'm too lazy to plug my PS3 in. Just dealing with the S video cable shits me. But doing stuff like that, you know, it's like because it's like I look at the best example I can think of is like your Grand Theft Autos, right? It's like take Grand Theft Auto. What's most people's favorite? You know, it's either 5 or San Andreas.
I've never played a GTA game actually.
Don't worry.
Yeah, I've never played them.
Yeah, they're all right. Like I like them, but like they're definitely a very specific type of game. You got to be in the mood for it. But like a lot of people love 5, which is the most recent one. And like a lot of people who are like me who like gameplay tend to like San Andreas and Vice City more. But like if you look at the story, 5 is infinitely better. Like because the story is actually interesting, it's good. Whereas with San Andreas, that's like the story's interesting, but it's not the best written because you know again you're talking like a 2003 video game writing story, so it's like there's only so much they could really do with it, given the scope of what they had to work with. But the gameplay is like, yeah, I will always go back and play San Andreas. I'll go back and play a Vice City, but I don't go back to play 5. You know, it's not for me. But one game story, actually, just as a tangent as well, that I can never recommend enough, and I've brought this up to you because I've said this is like the only reason I actually ever want to go to Korea is because of StarCraft, because I'm a fucking nerd. And I adore StarCraft.
In Korea.
Yeah. I love the lore. I love like the game, the mechanics, everything. I have a video I've been slowly working on for like 3 years and like very slowly working on. Like I'm still like scripting it out and everything, and I've started it, restarted it. But it's got to the point that it's like a 5-part series that I've got planned out, and they're like hour-long videos. I'm like, this needs to like be cut down because this is too much work for a lot of fluff. You know, it's not really getting the point across. But yeah, I don't know. StarCraft is just one of those sci-fi epics that I don't think many games touch, other than maybe like a Mass Effect, where it's like I am just super into the story. Although I've never really sat down to play through Mass Effect like fully, so I've never been like huge on that. All right, so enough faffing about. Now's for my favorite question. Not my favorite. Sorry, what is your most controversial gaming or movie opinion?
I'm not sure. I don't like the movie. I saw the movie Elf with Will Ferrell one time in theaters when it came out. I was a teenager. I think I was 17. I didn't like it. I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it. Never watched it again. I know people love that movie. I don't know if that's super controversial.
I would say it's somewhat controversial. Like everyone I know loves it. I never got into it either. Like I can put up with it, but like it's there. It's just not my go-to.
I have some that I think will actually be more controversial. The Pixar movies, Finding Dory and Wall-E, they're not bad, but they never did anything for me like at all. Like watching them was like, it was like the experience of hearing about someone else eating saltine crackers. Like I don't know how to phrase it. Like
I think that's the best way I've ever heard that phrase.
They were not. I'm not even going to say they were boring. Maybe there was just something wrong with my brain chemistry when I watched. They just don't do. I don't have anything against them. I don't think bad thoughts about them. They just did nothing at all for me.
Wall-E, I would argue with you about, but again, that's just more personal, like inflictions.
Yeah.
But like Finding Dory, I agree. It's nothing. Like it's there.
Did I say Finding Dory? Sorry, I meant to say Finding Nemo.
I mean, you could argue the same thing. Like, there's not really a lot going on because, like, the idea is like, to me, the story is like, okay, like his son gets taken away. Okay, cool. Now, where's like the story? Like, where's the growth and everything? It's like we get like a tiny bit of character growth and just a bunch of characters. It's
like they see. I mean, I know people love that movie. Finding Nemo, I believe, is my wife's favorite movie. Like my wife's favorite movie.
She's gonna come in and kick your ass in a sec.
So yeah, I mean, no, people really like it, and you know, some of my friends really like it. And people loved Wall-E, and yeah, I mean, that's cool. Nothing against them. I never think about them. They left no.
Just go for it.
No,
shit, they're the worst movies ever made.
Truly, honestly, they just like left no positive or negative impact like on my brain. I mean, that's I don't know. It just glanced right off.
That's how I feel with like Marvel movies. Like it's like yeah they're there. Like I can see that you can find them entertaining, but I'm like, there's nothing happening. Like there's nothing gained from this experience for me. It's just I watched a thing go from A to B, and that's kind of it. You know?
Yeah, that's most of them for me as well.
All right. So, always a little bit of a fun one, just to help shout out other small creators. Do you have other favorite creators? We've already obviously mentioned Jared. I've shouted out Pixel. Shout out to Sned, who's finally about to make videos. Because we keep bugging him, and he hit his anime reviews, and I'm still mad at him for doing it. Just out of love. But have you got any other small creators, you know, or big creators that you'd love, that you recommend people go watch if they want to get into your content, or just stuff that you enjoy in general?
Well, there's this channel a lot of people don't know about called Red Letter Media that I really like. No, I'm just kidding. Everyone knows about Red Letter Media. I love Red Letter Media, but no, yeah, a friend of mine, he has a channel called The Barking Years. The Barking Years, and it's exactly what I'm doing pretty much with movies. He analyzes movies. He takes a different approach to it. I pretty much exclusively, for the most part, use imagery and motifs and stuff within the work itself, whereas he kind of brings like an outside perspective based on a lot of philosophy and sociology. But his videos are fascinating and well made. He just had a really successful one. I'm talking like 20,000, 24, 22, 20 something thousand views successful on the movie Beau is Afraid, that horror movie by Ari Aster did Hereditary and Midsummer. Anyway, so he's grown a lot. If he hasn't already, he's going to overtake me very soon. But from all the subs he got from that channel, I recommend him. I think he makes great stuff. I think if you like what I make, you'll like what he makes, straight up. I'm not just saying that because, yeah. And then otherwise, not a YouTube channel, but people who like video game music, people who like RPG music, and you like the soundtrack to Chrono Trigger or any given Final Fantasy or whatever. A friend of mine that I grew up with, we loved that music, and now he makes that music. It's on his Bandcamp page, and it is fucking phenomenal. Like his music is so good, and not enough people know about it. And it's another case where it's like, this isn't just because he's my friend. Like I listen to his music independently of thinking about him. I listen to his music for pleasure, not as any sort of obligation to like, I want to support him. I have like gotten teary-eyed listening to some of his tracks. There's a really great indie platformer game called Dust Force, and it's like kind of obscure, but it's known. The people who know it know that it has like really, really great music, really atmospheric music. And I've loved that music for years and years, but I went like a long time. I hadn't listened to it for several years, and I was listening to it in the car a couple months back, and I was like, here's that music that I really like. And while I was listening, I was thinking, like, as much as I really like this music, as I was listening, it occurred to me that like my friend's music that I was just telling you about is like this but better. Like I legitimately think my friend's stuff is better than this stuff that I already love. I truly think that. So Sam Winters Bandcamp. Yeah.
There'll be
his name
links
is
to
Sam
everyone
Winters.
below, by the way.
Yes.
Just because I want every small creator to do well because it's fun. This stuff's a hobby. We love it. Are there any more, or that's sort of all that's coming to mind?
Pretty much those two. And then everyone has their big channels they like, but that's I think we can. That would take a long time to cover all that.
Yeah.
Hey guys, quick interruption here. This is actually being recorded a few days after the interview you're in the middle of watching. For whatever reason, I forgot to shout out this artist, David Schwartz, but he really deserves it, so we're just going to splice this right in here. I'm going to show you his art. This is obviously Instagram, not YouTube, but if you're watching this interview, if you are interested in Karlec's channel or my channel, chances are the type of stuff you like, you would enjoy a lot of David's drawings, and he's just stunning. I think he's phenomenal. So look at this. Look at this. Please go check him out on Instagram and let him know what he's done that you like. Follow him. Here's his QR code for Instagram. So yeah, he really deserves it.
And the last thing I do want to ask is if you had to go, here are my, say, 5, just as an example, 5, like it can be more or less, give or take, essential experiences that I think people should have, like just say it's like, okay, Minority Report. That is one that I really recommend people watch.
Like from my channel.
Not just from your channel, but like just movies in general or games in general.
Okay.
What stuff you would say is like, if you want to get to know me, do this. Like watch these or play this. Have you got a few that you think represent you really well?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I guess I can cheat and say that I've already mentioned my kind of 3 favorite movies. And there are more that I really love, but obviously, there's okay, so when I was 14 through like most of my teenage years, I used the program RPG Maker 2000. My friends were, and also my brother, we were into making games, and we kind of like paid attention to the community for that program and like the games that were coming out in that community. So there was a game that was never finished called A Blurred Line that I still wish would be finished. I would go back and play it, but there was that. There was a series called The Way, but one that is always stuck in my mind. And earlier when I said Earthbound is my favorite game, it's my favorite like official legally game that is legal to be sold game. Yeah. My favorite game is actually an RPG Maker 2000 game. And it is like stayed in my mind since I was 14, and it's called 3 the Hard Way. And it's made by a guy whose username, and that's all we know of him, his username was E. Shenron, like from I think like Dragon Ball GT or something. And 3 the Hard Way, it's like an old Save the Kingdom style RPG, and it becomes so much more than you expect. And because it's an RPG Maker game, it doesn't have its own original music. It like draws from all these sources, and that's why it can't ever legally be sold. Like RPG Maker games steal assets. So like a lot of the music in that game, instead of like everyone and their mom and their brother and their dog made an RPG Maker game, and they put in like, oh, here's the Final Fantasy VII battle theme, here's the Chrono Trigger field theme. This game used a bunch of MIDIs of like popular like hip hop and like R&B and like Latin music. For this medieval Save the Kingdom game, and it worked so well. It has this it has all this like jazz music and this like light like Ella Fitzgerald stuff. And even though it's like a Save the Kingdom, it's medieval, it has this underground feel. The main character is the son of a bartender, and he works as a bounty hunter for part of the game, like kind of just like a hired muscle. And so much of the game is like about meeting people in these kind of like casual locations and like sitting at a table and talking to somebody, and there's so much of that. So like it's such a striking atmosphere. Like literally there's a forest in the game where the legendary sword is sealed, and the music as you're going through this forest is a MIDI of Nice and Slow by Usher. I'm not even and it works so well. It's not dumb. It's not dumb.
The idea of it makes it funny.
It's so strange. It's so strange, right? It's so striking. But so like so many of these, it has music by TLC. It also uses various like it's all MIDIs, like MIDIs of like various kind of obscure anime openings, like Haunted Junction. That's an anime nobody's ever heard of. Cardcaptor Sakura is fairly popular. Like all these sources you wouldn't expect. And so I played that game as a teenager, and I've replayed it several times over the years, including once in Korea. But throughout the rest of my life, I would sometimes be out somewhere and hear music playing in a cafe and be like, that's from Through the Hard Way. And so it's like this game that I played as a teenager is the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
And like still to this day, there are songs that I will hear and be like, oh, that's another one I never knew what it was from. But this is it. Like, and it's just an experience like no other. No other, these RPG Maker games, but particularly that one because everyone knows their Final Fantasy and Castlevania, Resident Evil music, but like there was a lot of really obscure stuff, and so that was very long-winded answer to your question. But if you, I'm not going to say that's essential because nobody's actually going to go download that game and play it. I think you should, but no one's going to. But
I mean, the odds people are still watching like an hour 54 minutes in, like.
Yeah. No one's watching
fun.
This damn video.
Yes,
but
which means I get to mention the one thing that I was trying my best not to bring up, but I want to bring it up because as soon as you said Bounty Hunter, it just clicked in my head because I'm a fan of One Piece. I'm not like a huge One Piece nerd, but a certain little birdie, aka you, told me that you were doing a voiceover for Zoro. What was that experience like? Because I've always been curious about that.
I forgot I was doing that, which sounds really bad because I do take it seriously and try to do a good job. But okay, that is another small creator I want to shout out. His channel name is Ryu Ematsu, like Ryuematsu. 2 words, Ryu Ematsu, and he does fan dubs of manga. So if you don't like reading black and white manga, he has like Dragon Ball in color, and it's like the panels appear timed with the voices and sounds and music. So it's almost like an in between. It's like in between the experience of reading manga and watching anime, and he does a great job with them.
So a visual novel kind of deal.
Yes, kind of. It's like he takes the manga. Yeah, he kind of like visual novelizes it. And he's doing that with One Piece, and obviously One Piece is really long.
Yeah.
And he's doing several series at once, so it's like slow progress. I was cast as Zoro over 2 years ago, and I finally like actually made my debut as Zoro like last month.
Yeah.
So just to give you an idea, it's slow going, but he does a good job. But the process, you ask what was that like? I got into voice acting. I've always been intrigued. I used to watch a ton of anime as a teen and young adult, and I always paid attention to the voices. And even today, in a movie, I was watching a movie the other day, and like I heard a voice over the phone, and I was like, "That sounds like Peter Sarsgaard, who played Gil Coulson in The Batman." Yeah. You never see this guy; you just hear his voice. So I looked up the IMDb, and it's Peter Sarsgaard doing the voice, and so I have a knack for that kind of thing with voices. Yeah. I've always been interested, and so. There's a website called Casting Call Club, and there are a bunch of amateur project directors there who you can use that site to reach out to other talent. I need an animator, I need an artist, I need someone to write music, I need voice actors.
Yeah.
And so I like set up a profile on that site and submitted a bunch of auditions. I actually saw a lot of success. Like I got cast as pretty much every character I wanted. I got cast as Gene Starwind in a fan dub of Outlaw Star.
Yeah.
I won't list all of them, but like some actually kind of like it's not official, obviously. It's a fan thing, but it's kind of high profile within the context of being a fan thing. Like I got cast as All Might from My Hero Academia fan dub. Now, the problem is that most of these project directors are probably teenagers, and they don't really realize what it actually means to have to make a project. So they're doing like their whole casting process where they like set up a casting call and like put in the lines that you have to say. Sorry, I hit the mic. Put in the lines that you have to say, and then like watch as the auditions flow in and then pick their favorite. That's all fun. But then when it comes down to doing what you and I do, which is like sit in front of a computer and edit for days, they're like, oh, I'm not going to do this. And they just cancel the project without telling anybody. So almost everything that I got cast for ended up being unceremoniously canceled without me even finding out until I noticed the page wasn't there anymore.
Yeah.
It's just kids. But the One Piece thing has persisted, and he's actually doing it. And so it was as simple as he sent me the pages, and he has his own, like, I guess, translation of the script. So he sent me the pages, and here's your character's lines, and I I say the lines. I recorded a bunch of different takes into Audacity, and I saved a big uncompressed WAV file and sent it to him, and let him pick the takes he liked, and he did all the rest.
He can do the boring part of cleaning up the audio. That's not our job anymore.
That's one thing that I wouldn't do it if it were me. Like, I like what he's doing, but it's just so much work on top of what I already do. But just recording the voices and sending that in, that's fun.
Yeah, because I was just curious about it, like, because I'm like, because you sent it to me, I watched it, I'm like, this is cool, I like this, but I was like, how did you even get into this? And then I was like, oh, well, we want to do an interview at some point, so I sort of wanted to save the question for that, because
it's just club,
it's something I was like, it felt very like out of left field just because of how busy you are. Because like we talk maybe like once a week to once a fortnight. We'll shoot each other a quick message just to check
something
in.
Like that, yeah.
And sometimes like there was like when we were talking on Twitter, it'd be like maybe once a month. Like because we both forget to bloody message each other.
Well, I want to caution anybody who's interested in this Casting Call Club. You can get into stuff through it, and you can actually make money. Some of the projects are paid, but definitely be aware that a lot of the stuff is going to be suddenly abandoned.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind having your time wasted, it can be fun and exciting, but just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
You don't know who's doing these projects.
Yeah, go in with the idea that it's not going to go well.
It might be not ever materialize.
Yeah. Because like part of the reason why I bring it up, especially now that you brought up like hey, you got cast for All Might, I'll have to find the clip and send it to you. Someone did a Jamaican dub of All Might lines, and it's just the funniest thing ever. Because like he's just speaking like all their slang and everything. So I don't know 90% of what's being said, but like the amount of energy and like everything to it, I'm like, I love it, and it actually fits the character a lot. But like to me, I'm like, as I said to you when you sent me the video, I'm like, to me, you feel like you'd play a good Zoro because you have that, ironically, a teacher's voice. You have that calm.
Thank you.
Tone. It's not. You're not like yelling everything you say. It's like everything you're saying is kind of deliberate and intentional, rather than.
I do think teaching experience actually helped, but I'd say so.
Yeah, because
I have mixed feelings about my performance as Zoro in that first chapter. It was my I'm not getting paid for this. If you actually do go watch that, there'll
be a link.
It is what it is. But okay, all right. But it's like some lines I think I did a good job with them, and then others I'm like, man, I would have done better if I had kind of had more of a feel for how the scene was going to be going. I don't think I gave it enough oomph, so it definitely sounds like I'm sitting in a chair recording into a mic, but it's whatever. I'll get better.
It's one of those things. I think it's the same with like you always comment on how when I talk in my videos I seem very natural with my
more so than me, I think.
And I think it's the difference is I've been live streaming for 10 years. Like I'm so comfortable in front of a microphone, but like if you look at anything I ever did way back in the day, it was so stiff and just very robotic in terms of just there was no inflection, there's no range of motion in the voice, there's just no impact to it. And you could tell like with your performance as Zoro, like even though it's only a limited amount of lines, the more you did, the better you got, because it's like you started to, at least to me, sound more comfortable in the role.
I should have gone back and re-recorded those first lines because I think you're right. I did get better as I went.
Yeah, but in saying that, I don't know if you've watched One Piece, aka One Peak, the greatest story ever told. But in all seriousness, like it is great. I love One Piece. It is definitely worth watching.
I've been huge into One Piece since 2007. Yeah, like 16 years. Yeah. But I really love,
But like, just if you remember, like Zoro when he started out, he was very stiff in his way of communicating, and like as time goes on, like once he gets more comfortable around Luffy and the crew, other than Sanji, he communicates pretty well with everybody. But I think he did a very accurate to character kind of portrayal for what it is, because obviously
I'm definitely not gonna.
If you're getting paid, you would take the time to like sit down and really give it everything you got. But if you're not getting paid,
Well, I'm not gonna sound like the Japanese voice actor I think is the best.
Mm.
And I'm not gonna sound like Chris Sabat, who is the current English voice actor. I'm not gonna sound the guy who voiced him in the Four Kids dub is the same guy who did Guts and Berserk. But
yeah,
I'm a different person. I got a different squishy stuff in my throat that makes
Yeah.
different sounds come out. So yeah, a lot of voice actors will say it's not about changing your voice; it's about playing the character.
yeah,
So if someone can imagine this roughly this voice a little bit deeper coming out of green-haired sword man, then maybe they can get into it if I do a good enough job
yeah.
like capturing the mood.
I think you did. You know, and I think
Thank you.
the more you do it, the better you're going to get. I mean, it's no different to like even the series, you know, for Always on My Mind. You know, like that whole series where it's. I
That's
think
certainly gotten a lot better.
yeah, like I think just in terms of your storytelling, you know, just communication, everything. Like it felt more, as I said, like it just felt like the evolution of you in that series.
I want to say something about that real quick because I don't, but my mom has watched all those videos. Obviously, my dad has watched a lot of them. It's hard for my dad to watch, but he, you know, I'm his son. He wants to support me, and so, some of my close friends have watched a bunch of them. But as far as like strangers who come to my series on YouTube, I don't know how many of them are just like active watchers of that series. I suspect not very many. You've watched a lot of them. Like it actually, it kept surprising me and shocking me. Like I don't know this guy, and he has no reason to like, because I'm a stranger, but you just kept watching him, and it was just like, seriously, man, you're getting up into the 20s, you're getting up into the 30s, like you're still watching my videos, and I'm very grateful, and I'm not saying that because it's like a thing that you say in an interview or whatever. Like I'm not blowing smoke up your like fucking obviously. I'm very very grateful that you watch my videos. Like I'm very moved because I want people to watch them, and thank you for watching my series for my brother.
I mean, look, I'll be honest. That's why I recommend that series to everyone. Is not just because obviously you'll see us having correspondence and joking while being serious at the same time, which is always funny to think about. You know, having like the most in-depth possible discussion about emotions and things like that, and then just being like, you know, penis, haha, kind of thing. Not really that, but like whatever joke we came up with at the time. But it's one of those things where I am, and this is part of the reason why I wanted to do this series originally. Like the whole idea of the interviews is for me to come out of my shell, because although I think I'm a good communicator, I do not talk very often. I am a very introverted individual. I like to stay to myself. I don't comment on YouTube videos very often. I don't, you know, your channel is by far the most commented channel. Me. Like, no joke.
Really?
Easily. Like, not even, I think I've commented on maybe like 15 Pixel videos. I've commented on like 40 of yours.
Yeah, like all the ones. Okay.
Yeah, and I've known Pixel for many, many years, and I've been supporting him for a very long time. But like, I'm like, I don't need to comment because I can just tell him, you know. But I feel like with your videos, even though once we started corresponding outside of the videos, to me it was like they needed to be on the videos to have context. Because
and it also and it also helps the video. Like it helps YouTube is like pushes it up more. But
but like, you know, even someone like Avalanche Reviews, I think I've commented on maybe like 4 or 5 videos ever, and I've watched everything he's done. You know, it's just one of those things. I'm not much of a commenter, but like your series made me be like, hey, you're willing to talk about it, I'm willing to talk about it. You know, and this goes to something I did, would have been 5-6 years ago. It's been a while. Pardon me.
Was this for John Bain?
No, this is actually just it was pretty shortly. I think it was like 6 months after that. His name was
John Bain, right?
Yeah, Total Biscuit.
Yeah, totally.
Rest in peace. Some people, everybody was an arsehole. I was like, yep, and that's why we loved him. You know, he was always him. That's why we liked him. You know, but I did a
rest in peace.
Yeah, I did a stream series for a week called A Stream for Help, where I found a local charity that supports people with severe depression and anxiety. and it's called the Black Dog Institute. And I'm still like, I actively keep up to date with what they're doing, even though I, don't get to donate or anything of that nature. But I still support them in whatever way I can. I did a series where we were talking. Like I got people who were willing to, like I didn't force anyone, come on the stream and basically do what we're doing now, have a discussion and talk about like where's you, like, when you've been depressed, what have you done to help yourself? Like what's worked for you, what hasn't worked for you, what are you like, what's kind of going through the head at the time, what helped you get out of that kind of rut, and just starting a general dialogue. But I remember individuals, I'm not going to say names because I don't want them to feel uncomfortable, but they would say, and especially as men, a lot of guys are like, no, I don't want to talk about it. I don't feel comfortable. It's like, okay, fair enough. If you don't want to, you don't have to. And we'd start talking about it. And then 20, 30 minutes later, after we're all sitting there talking about it, they started chiming in and talking about it. Like it got them out of their shell. And that experience is what happened to me with your videos, where it's like, I'm seeing this, sharing like this raw emotion and this like just, even if it is tripping over your own words, talking in circles, and it doesn't feel like you're going anywhere with it. I know why you're feeling that way, because I've been in that boat, and it's like, it's nice to see that I'm not the only one in that situation, and I can, talk to someone and be like, hey, yeah, no, this is kind of a similar. Like, obviously, the situation around my grandfather's death is very, very different. Thankfully, he lived a much longer life, and he got to experience a lot more. But like getting to hear about Jameson is something that it's like, as I said, hearing, even if it's the same stories over and over again, the stories about the cans of Monster and things like that. It's one of those things where it's like, I never get to see the guy ever, but I know him, and he is someone who is inadvertently a part of my life, whether he chose to be or not. And the fact it's after death doesn't matter. It's like,
it's keeping somebody around in the only way that you can after they're gone. It's just knowledge of who they were and what they were about.
And it made me want to comment. It's one of those things where I think there's a lot to be gained, just even on a person. Like, if you want to be selfish as like someone, like as a viewer, right? If I wanted to be selfish, I could go in, watch that series, and I can gain a lot from it. Just by watching you and how you changed.
I'm glad you think that, because I wasn't sure. I don't know if it is helpful in a.
I think
it might be interesting. I don't know if it's helpful.
Yeah, I think it is helpful, because like you see how your life changes and like what you're doing over that period of time. Because it's not that you're saying, oh, let's forget about the pain and forget about the whole situation and just move on. It's no, we acknowledge it, but I keep moving forward. I keep putting that one foot in front of the other, and you're going to have those really rough days, like when you hit those anniversaries and that. Like, those are the videos that definitely get me to tear up a bit, by all means. Where it's very emotionally impactful. But you can see that it's emotionally impactful because of the fact it's an anniversary. Like it's that idea of, okay, today is the day that I'm going to let it hit me like a truck, and then I'm going to get back on the horse and keep going forward. Because to me, I never saw you take a step back, if that makes sense. Like the closest thing to a step back, as I said, would be, I forget what episode it was. I think it might be, I don't know if it was the most recent one or the one before that was the anniversary video. It could have been one before that. It's like, I know it's in the 60s. And
probably the most recent. Most recent is the 5-year anniversary of his death. Yeah,
because I remember I wrote a pretty freaking long comment on that video. Because I remember I was crying at it. But like up to that point, I hadn't seen you look that sad, in terms of like emotionally sad, other than at the beginning. If that makes sense, like, because as I said, watching the journey.
Oh, like at the very beginning. Okay, like right after, like, okay, because I'd say the first like 19 videos were still very shortly after he died. Yeah,
like it was very like the start, but as I said, like you start to see that change where it's like, even though like you were sad in that first 20 odd episodes, you were still slowly coming forward. And then like from 20 to 34, you sort of see you start to go, okay, bam, 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 I'm making these steps forward, you know? And to me, I found that pretty helpful. And as I said, like it's almost inspiring to see someone able to have that pain sitting on the chest. It's there and not hide away from it, but be willing to just be like, here, come look at it. Let's talk about it. And then, you know, let's move on. You know, like this is still here. It's going to stay here, but we're just going to keep carrying it.
Yeah, I don't feel at all shy about that because, like, of course I'm going to be sad that my brother's dead. Like, it's not embarrassing. Like, it would be strange if I wasn't, you know? Like, so I don't mind talking about it. The one thing is, like, I hope it never comes across as, like, me trying to use my brother's death for, like, some kind of clout or attention, because that is... I don't think it comes across that way, and I definitely hope, but because that kind of thing is like, I think that's really like gross, obviously, and that's just not what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see you being like, oh yeah, here's a Raid Shadow Legends sponsorship in the middle of one of these
that'd
videos.
Be pretty. Honestly, if I did that as a joke, Jameson, like
I just from the stories, I'm like, I reckon he would find that funny.
He would find that funny, but yeah, that'd be pretty bad.
But at the same time, if you did it as a joke for you and for him, and like, you know, obviously your parents would get it. Like, I feel like I would get it because I've watched a lot. If someone who has never seen it, I could see where they'd be offended at it. But that's like, but then they're ignoring the whole point of the series in the first place. You know, it's like, I feel like by the time you get halfway through, you start to understand the relationship of you and Jameson pretty well. Of like, you know, things might not necessarily be like picture perfect, but
there's certainly a lot of things. Yeah, like it's at the end of the day, it's about I don't even really know why I said that'd be bad optics, because I've said so many things that are bad optics unless you kind of know where I'm coming from. I've always said that, like, I've given my friends permission if I happen to die, not that I plan to, but if I happen to die before they do, it's fine for them to make really messed up jokes about it, because we would joke about messed up things together while we were alive. Yeah. So if they make a messed up joke, it's kind of like they're like poking fun at me in that friendly, affectionate way. That would be the closest they could get to still actually sharing that with me, because now I can't on my end because I'm gone, but they can still do that as if they would. Does that make sense? Like,
you don't want to be
it's
in
more
death, you don't
respectful.
want to be treated different. Like,
you don't want to be treated with like this false, like socially mandated solemn attitude. You still you want people to be true to how you guys were together. So like, if I die and then a year later some of my friends are getting together, one of them could be like, anybody invite Jordan? Oh wait, like, that's fine. That's fine. That's funny.
See, like, it's like, what was it? I wanted Dude, I Totally Miss You by Tenacious D played at my funeral. Just because it's like
I actually don't. I need to listen to more Tenacious D.
It's a pretty, just the idea of it, because like it's a very, like, it's a ballad song. It's like, oh yeah, it's meant to be about, you know, oh, I want my friend back and all that. It's like, yeah, but I'm dead and we're listening to a comedy band. You know, we're not listening to like all the serious music I like. We're going to listen to the funny shit, because I don't want tears. I want smiles. You know, I don't take life that seriously. I don't want anyone to take it that seriously. You know, it's not that you can't have the best life possible. It's just like, as soon as you take yourself too seriously, how can you enjoy life? You know,
there's a place for all of it. Like, there are times when
I mean, you got to be serious sometimes. Like,
of course, I just something I very early on decided was I'll let myself feel however I feel, and so if I felt happy, I didn't need to feel guilty about that, because it doesn't mean I didn't love my brother. If I'm having a good day, why shouldn't I have a good day? And he would want me to. Yeah. But if I was sad, then that's also okay. Why wouldn't I be sad? My brother died. Everything was fine, and at the same time, life is a mix of, you know, lightheartedness and also seriousness, and you wouldn't want to simplify what you had with the person after they die into just one or the other. So it's all fine. It's all in the spirit of like celebrating people, I think.
All right. I think that can bring us to an end. So, is there anything else you want to kind of finish us up with here, or any final thoughts?
Yeah, just out of left field, you asked me about people I'd recommend, and I said like my friend Sam and my friend the Barking Years, but there's a larger creator who's really taken off, and he seems to be friends with Avalanche Jared, but I'll shout him out because I like his stuff. Modular, Majuular.
Mm.
I really like his videos, and he seems like a cool guy. I've chatted with him a bit on stream, and he's actually commented on a couple of my videos. Cool guy. I like his stuff. Go check him out. He deserves it. He's growing really fast anyway, but help him grow faster.
Yeah, with my 475 subs, I'm bringing change to the industry. I'm going to be the powerhouse.
Yeah. I don't. He doesn't need my help at all, but I didn't want to leave him out. And aside from that, no, I think your small creator corner is a cool idea, and I've always thought so. And I always thought it'd be cool to do one of these with him sometime. And so I hope I wasn't putting you out by doing it. I was very happy to do it.
I'm sitting here playing Pokemon. I had a nap in the middle of the day. We just hit midnight, and I'm going to be up for another like 12 hours editing a video instead of sleeping and being a normal human being. So I'm not really that stressed. My schedule is atrocious. We'll say that much.
Yeah, I'm not much better about sleeping. Sleep's really important, though. You should get some sleep.
Yeah, no, we don't need that. There's anime titties to look at. No, that's more. I just want to play with my cat now because she's like sort of waking up a little bit. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me, Mr. Baby Arms. Still, I'm gonna have to like edit that animation in at some point.
Oh yeah, I could. Yeah, you can capture it from the beginning of one of my videos.
I might just like have it like over your camera, like just transparent the whole friggin' time on repeat.
Just have it on loop.
Yeah,
that'll be a lot of dragging and dropping, but that'll be a lot of holding shift and dragging and dropping. But okay,
the hard life, man, the hard life. But yeah, so check out Jordan Baby Arms, YouTube link below because we can't remember all the new links system for YouTube. It messes with me.
And also, before you check me out, stay on this channel and check out that Tekken video.
Yeah, the Tekken
Croc video.
The Tekken video especially, because I'm happy with my shitty memes.
Yeah. And then check out my stuff. Don't forget.
No, check out Baby Arms first. Like, comment, subscribe. Every single video he's ever done. Every single one, full watch time. Then come back here and maybe subscribe. Maybe.
Okay.